Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the regular meeting of Fernie City Council held on October 28th, 2025. Kisukukit. We acknowledge that the city of Fernie is located within Kukinamukas, the unceded territory of Yakutat Nucleat First Nation. We recognize that we live and work within their vast lands. Akanahunik are from Yakutat Nucleat and are members of the Tahnawahs-speaking peoples of British Columbia, Idaho, and Montana. I'd like to take this moment to acknowledge that the city of Fernie, our offices will be closed on Tuesday, November 11th in recognition of Remembrance Day. And a reminder that our next regular council meeting is on November 12th at this time, 6:30. And just for your information, puppies go on sale officially on Friday, October 30th, and you can purchase them at City Hall and at a number of other vendors around the community. A few housekeeping matters. There are 3 emergency exits from this building. There's the one there, there's one on this side and one at the back. If we have to evacuate the building for any reason, our muster point is the behind the old Brown's Meat Market building across the parking lot. Washrooms are located through the doors on my left. We ask that everyone present this evening avoid interrupting and refrain from talking with other attendees, council members, or City of Fernie staff. Please take a moment to turn off your cell phones and other personal devices that may disrupt the meeting. If you're speaking in the public participation period, kindly ensure your name is on the sign-up sheet. And if anybody hasn't signed up, can you indicate now and Deb will come and find you? No, seeing none, thank you. And that if a member of the public is speaking, we ask that we respect that person speaking and the person speaking speaks respectfully to staff, council, and the public. Keep the discussion relevant to the agenda and refrain from personal attacks or inflammatory language. And as the chair, I have the authority to remove disruptive members of the public from this facility. So with that, I'll call the meeting to order at 6:33. And I'll ask for a mover and a seconder for the following staff recommendation. And bear with me, it's a long one. That the agenda be amended to add late items, 10.3 land use application procedures and fees bylaw 2530-2025. 10.4 municipal ticket information bylaw 2041, amendment bylaw number 2538-2025, and 14.1 letter of support for REDIP application Pacific Sport Columbia Basin, and that the agenda be amended to move items 13.1 Prentice Park Society petition to the Supreme Court of BC and 11.1 Elk Valley Fieldhouse Society lease and operating agreement to the front of the agenda and after the public participation period, and the agenda of the October 28th, 2025 regular meeting be adopted as amended. Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Ramirez. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. I'll ask for a mover and a seconder for the following staff recommendation that the minutes of the October 14th, 2025 regular meeting be adopted. Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor McIsaac. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. And a mover and a seconder for the following staff recommendation that the minutes of the October 14th, 2025 special meeting be adopted. Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Audia Kelly. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. I'll now invite the public in attendance or participating electronically who wish to comment on items listed on the meeting agenda in accordance with section 3.7.3 of the procedure bylaw to address council, except speakers must not address council regarding a matter for which a public hearing must be held or has been held pursuant to the Local Government Act prior to council's consideration of consideration of the matter or adoption of the bylaw. Speakers must not address council regarding a permit for which public notice must be given or has been given pursuant to the Local Government Act prior to council's consideration of issuance of the permit. And a speaker may only address council for a maximum of 3 minutes. And each speaker asked to state their full name and their community of residence. And our corporate officer will keep time for your 3 minutes, and she has a yellow card to let you know when you have 30 seconds left and a red card to let you know when your time is up. And apparently her timer will beep this time as well. So please listen for that. So with that, I'll turn to our corporate officer.
Your Worship, our first speaker this evening is Robbie Pooper.
Put it down. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Robbie Poupart, Fernie, BC. Like many families in Fernie, we love this community and want to see it thrive. Tonight's agenda includes a report showing rising legal costs. Those dollars don't protect people. They don't build parks. They don't buy fire trucks. They represent something much sadder, the cost of a community fighting itself. No residents wants this. The people who filed the petition did so only after every other door was closed, after letters, meetings, and public input were ignored. This was a choice by staff and council to proceed in a way that left the public no alternative. It's never too late to choose collaboration over conflict. The legal process will play out, but council can still show leadership by acknowledging how we got here and by recommitting to transparent decision-making that reflects Fernie's values. Let's build a fire hall, yes, but let's also rebuild trust. One more point that I just got here. I got a letter from one of our residents. It's a eulogy from 2003 for Stevie Cervello. And I didn't know this, and probably a lot of yous don't know this. The reason it was named Cervello Field is because Stevie donated his trucks, a loader, and a backhoe to get that field developed to play on. Now, let's not destroy a legacy that Stevie left us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Poupart.
Our next speaker this evening is Elena Anselmo.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Elena Anselmo. I'm the president of the Prentice Park Society, and I reside at 20 Mount Trinity here in Fernie. I'm here because I care deeply about this community and about the way we make decisions that shape Fernie's future. Tonight's agenda includes a CAO report outlining legal costs tied to the fire hall project, and I think everyone in this room can agree, none of us wanted to be here. The community didn't choose this conflict. It was staff and council decisions that placed Fernie in this situation. Every dollar now going forward toward legal fees and consultants is a dollar not spent on real improvements, not on parks, not on facilities, not on things that actually bring people together. These aren't just line items in a budget. They represent the cost of division, the cost of decisions made without consensus. We've watched this project move forward despite repeating warnings, public opposition, and unresolved questions about land title, cost, and community impact. Now we're watching a process unfold that is both legally uncertain and financially open-ended. And when taxpayers see unknown costs in a staff report, they lose confidence that anyone is steering the ship with transparency. I also want to recognize our friends at the Fernie Outdoor Rink Society. They too have been told there's no space for you. And now with tonight's proposed Elk Valley Fieldhouse Society lease, council is being asked to formally remove any ability to use that area for an outdoor rink. That's disheartening. These are volunteers and families trying to keep recreation alive, the same spirit that once built Prentice Park and the same spirit that keeps Fernie strong. What we are seeing across issue after issue is a pattern. Local citizens stepping up to help and city processes closing doors on them. That's not who Fernie is. I'm asking council tonight to reflect on how we got here, including a once promised referendum and what leadership means now. You can still choose transparency over secrecy, collaboration over litigation, and unity over pride. We all support a new fire hall. We all support recreation, but Fernie shouldn't have to lose part of itself to gain in either one. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Anselmo.
Next up is Anthony Anselmo.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Anthony Anselmo, also part of the Prentice Park Society. And tonight I want to offer a constructive vision, not about stopping progress, but about finding a smarter, more collaborative path forward for Fernie. Right now, we have several major community needs all happening at once. A new fire hall, a new school being planned near the Montaigne subdivision, a field house proposal on the land where the outdoor rink currently sits, beside the swimming pool, a decommissioned community center still without a replacement, and the Fernie Academy offering to invest its own funds in a new multi-purpose gymnasium. These projects don't need to compete with one another. They can be integrated into one plan that strengthens Fernie as a whole. Here's what that could look like. Build the new main fire hall on the undeveloped Montaigne lands. That site has space, great access, long-term growth potential, could also host the relocated outdoor rink, dirt bike park, and the volleyball and basketball courts now sitting on the pool lands, preserving those community amenities while freeing up space. Partner with the school district and the Fernie Academy to create a legacy complex attached to the pool. Imagine a shared facility combining a new school, field house, and a gymnasium used by students during the day and by families, athletes, community groups after hours. Practical, efficient, builds on partnerships already willing to contribute. Revisit the idea of a secondary fire hall near the highway, potentially in partnership with the Red Apple property owner. This would finally give Fernie full emergency coverage on both sides of the rail line, while allowing a land swap that lets the Red Apple owner redevelop 902 2nd Avenue into a mixed-use housing and commercial space that fits the city's downtown vision. Ensure that development contributes to infrastructure. Right now, the Montaigne developer is seeking a variance to avoid paving Coal Creek Road. Do not grant this variance. Paving that road benefits everyone. It improves safety, emergency access, and connectivity to the very lands where future community facilities could be built. And finally, we are preserving Prentice Park, as the founders had envisioned for perpetuity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anselmo.
Next up is Anthony McAwee.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Anthony McAwee, and I'm a resident of Area A. Thank you for the opportunity to speak and your continued support of the Fieldhouse Initiative. Since we were last here about a year ago, a significant amount of work has been done, and I want to acknowledge the effort that staff have put in so far, especially given their many competing priorities and limited resources. Our design and engineering work is in advanced stages, and we anticipate being ready to file a building permit application within a few weeks, should you approve the staff recommendation tonight. After 3 requests, we were offered a pre-application meeting just this afternoon, which is fantastic. We understand parking will be a key discussion point and believe reconfiguration of the existing lot could yield a significant increase in spaces. Tonight, we respectfully ask Council direct staff to expedite the permit through the Planning Department. Time is of the absolute essence. This will be our second winter without a facility, and thousands of users have been displaced. Many programs are struggling or have been suspended entirely. The Max Turek schedule is overburdened. From the most recent user group meeting, there are conflicts 5 days a week with up to 4 groups competing for the same time slot. Alternative solutions such as the high school gym are unavailable before 8:30 p.m., leaving no other options for youth and community programming. This project is not just about recreational infrastructure, it is about restoring access, opportunity, and well-being for our community. We ask for your leadership in helping move this forward swiftly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McAwee.
Sorry, our next speaker, and I do pardon my pronunciation of this name. I think it's Jord Goethals. Yeah, oh, awesome.
Good evening, Jordy Guthals. I live on Coal Creek Road here in the city of Fernie. I'm on the Fernie Outdoor Rink Society Board. I'm speaking regarding the recommendation tonight for the lease and operating agreement approval for the Elk Valley Fieldhouse Society. I'd like it to be clear that we support the Fieldhouse Society and the board. However, it should also be noted that under 2 months ago, city staff reached out to us and led us to believe that ice was possible this winter and asked us to put an operating plan together. We were then told a month later that we had wasted our time building an operating plan via email with no other communication in between, and that was no longer possible to build ice this winter. The documentation for the recommendation tonight recommends or the recommendation under other considerations and outdoor rink indicates the city has been actively communicating with the Fernie Outdoor Rink Society. We do not believe this to be true. We have unacknowledged requests for relocation proposals from August. We have inconsistent messaging, as I just stated, and communication has been quite intermittent. So that has not been our experience. So I disagree with that. And then lastly, as a society, we would just like to state that we will be deeply disappointed if the Fieldhouse Society does not break ground this winter and the ice goes unused once again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Guthals.
Our next speaker is Ramona Pittman.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Ramona Pittman. I'm a resident of Fernie. I speak as an active member of the community interested in seeing a replacement for the community center in the form of a planned field house. The field house, at triple the size of the community center, will serve the needs of Fernie's steadily growing population and provide for physical activities as well as community events. So I support the proposal to approve the lease and operating agreements and to expedite the building permit so that the build can begin as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pittman.
Our next speaker is Jocelyn Zombrowski.
Hello, Jocelyn Sombrowski, 30 Park Avenue. The outdoor rink is an important amenity to my family. I was the chair of the former Leisure Services Advisory Group that was instrumental in the quick construction of the current ODR with Chuck Shoesmith. My family helped to erect the boards and then helped to shovel and do other maintenance whenever they were home. It was my late husband's pet project to personally plow the snow at his own cost from the opening of the ODR until February 2023. However, the greater need in the community has changed. At this time, a covered indoor multi-user space that can be used 365 days of the year is the priority. Using the site as an ODR is no longer the highest and best use of the space. I've attended the user meetings for the scheduling of the arena, the community center, and other gym spaces for several years now, and they have become increasingly more hostile as user groups are required to work it out amongst ourselves. The other user groups and staff who attend can verify this. There is simply not enough indoor space now for all of our community user groups, and this was already the case even when the community center was operational. An outdoor rink of any size is indeed an asset to our community, and I urge you to consider an alternate location. Should the courthouse or city hall grounds become a viable option, as the head of school for the Fernie Academy, I can relocate all recess and physical education classes to another location to accommodate. In this same capacity, I reiterate that the Academy is desperate for indoor gym space as soon as possible. I implore you to approve the lease and operating agreements with the Elk Valley Fieldhouse Society for the construction and operation of a field house on the site of the existing ODR this evening. And then please direct staff to expedite the permit through the planning process. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Zabrowski.
Our next speaker is Yuri Yaman.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Yuri Jamin. I'm a resident of Fernie. I'm also president of the Fernie Youth Soccer Association. Our programming for youth soccer during the summertime, we're able to run programming for 400 to 450 kids here in Fernie. During the winter time, our indoor program, we try to run it, but as I think we've heard here tonight, are limited by that indoor space. We're able to accommodate less than 100 players during the winter. So we're about 25% of kids who might want to play soccer and keep active in a very accessible, low cost sport. So here to reiterate and confirm our support for the Elk Valley Fieldhouse. This will be a very important structure for our soccer programming during the winter. In addition to simply verbal support, our association has approved a modest monetary contribution of $10,000 for the Elk Valley Fieldhouse. We know this is a small contribution relative to the total cost, but we do try and keep the program affordable for families. And this is what the association can offer towards the field house. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jamin.
Our next speaker is Joe Wachowski.
Good evening. My name is Joe Warshowski, Fernie resident, 1122 9th Avenue. I've seen this city come together after floods, fire, and tragedy. But I've never seen a division like this one. The report before you tonight lists legal costs, numbers on a page, but those numbers represent something deeper, a loss of trust. We didn't ask for lawyers and affidavits. We asked for respect, for open dialogue, and for the city to listen when people said, please don't take our park. Council had other options, land at 902 2nd, and other potential sites, but instead we are paying lawyers to argue over what the promise from 1972 really meant. People who made that promise aren't here to defend it, but we are. Please think about what this means for Fernie's future. Sometimes leadership means stopping admitting a mistake and choosing unity over pride. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Warshowski.
Our next speaker is Mike Jeffrey.
Good evening, Mayor, Councilman. My discussion here is specifically to the public note for the development variance permit DVP 617. So I've lived at, my name is Mike Jeffrey and I live at 48 Coal Creek Road. I am the last house on Coal Creek Road, the yellow, the red one. And I've lived there for 25 years. Over the years, there has been an increase in traffic, which is normal with the growth of a vibrant city. However, during the last couple of years, there has been substantial increase in traffic. Logging trucks, lots of them. Hauling trucks for the Parastone development and other increases in off-roading, ATV, backcountry camping, mountain biking, sledding. Coal Creek Road has taken a toll, like it really has taken a toll with this. With this increase of traffic, it has been damaged at the junction where the gravel meets the asphalt and closer to Pine Street. Potholes, dust, noise have been a major problem for our community. It is noted in the development variance that requirements for curb gutter, underground drainage, asphalt, and surface paving and illumination be removed. This is a mistake due to the increase in the growth of our city. With the northern RV development, Fernie RV Resort, all three bylaw requirements were respected and implemented. This should be the case for the Coal Creek as well. And a minimum, and I say minimum, the asphalt paving should be done down to the entrance to the Pearstone development entrance. This would reduce the amount of noise, dust to the Coal Creek community on Coal Creek Road and Pine Crescent. The new Pearstone RV development will increase with the RV traffic and the trailers, which are extremely noisy on gravel roads. This noise can be eliminated to a certain degree by paving and proper future maintenance of the Coal Creek Road. In addition, not mentioned in the variance, better signage to slow down the traffic is definitely needed. All there is a sign saying there's children here, but that's it. It doesn't say speed or anything. There should be a solar traffic sign, which is very cheap to do, that flashes the speed of the vehicle to the drivers coming into the Coal Creek community from the Pearstone development and beyond from the Morrissey area. There are young kids in the area and there's older people walking their dogs. This would also help reduce the noise, dust, speed of the traffic and keep our neighborhoods safe. So in closing, Coal Creek Road is within the city limits, including the new entrance to the Pearstone development property. The city of Fernie should seriously take into consideration the implementation of all three requirements, not remove them, to keep up with the growth of the city of Fernie. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Jeffrey.
The last speaker on the sign-up sheet is Mark Russell.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. My name is Mark Russell. I live at 16 Silver Ridge Way, and I want to speak to the variance for the Coal Creek asphalt and illumination gutter. First of all, I want to praise the developer, not something that often happens, but I walked through the campground and I implore you to do the same. He's done an incredible job. It really does. I don't want to be a neighbor to a campground, but he's done a really great job. And one of the great things that he's done is it's paved, and that will keep the dust down in the campground for all the visitors and the noise down for the visitors. All I'm sort of asking for is the same, because the approach to it, which is going to carry, I think it has 100 stalls, so the comings and goings, which are all heavy vehicles with heavy rattly trailers, are going to be traveling down that road. So he's done a great job, but like the other campgrounds, whether it be the one at the Provincial Park or the one behind the golf course, they both have asphalt approaches. The administration has recommended against this. I'm not sure why. Now, I have a little bit of history where I used to live on a gravel road, and it was maintained. At least the city, not your city, but another city, said it was maintained. But they just never, and I know maintaining is cheaper than asphalt, but it would fall apart in literally days, especially with heavy traffic and especially exacerbated with heavy trucks. So I'm having trouble believing maintenance is actually a cheaper long-term option. And I think it's an investment to have asphalt. It's a robust material. What else do I want to say? As a gesture to the developer and to the city, I don't really think it's necessary to have the high cost of curb, sidewalk, and gutter and the illumination. I think just the asphalt itself is plenty and leaves it a nice approach. Now, maybe the administration can speak to this, but I think as a gesture to take half the cost off the table of it, it really makes a lot of sense. So I guess my point is that I think the developer should live to the same standard as other campgrounds and developments. And I think it'll make his development a nicer product in the end when you can approach it. And I can remember the Pearstone development, Montaigne, that road entering into it, it blew my mind for years and years to be unpaved trying to sell multi-million-dollar houses. I never understood it. It's paved now, it's great. So anyway, that's, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Russell. Has anyone online indicated desire to speak? No one online? Thank you. And thank you, as always, everyone, for your input this evening. Now, consistent with our revised agenda, we'll move to item 13.1, Prentice Park Society petition to Supreme Court of BC report from our CAO, Mr. Bornowski.
Thank you, Your Worship. The material being the petition and our formal response to the petition are all matters of public record. It's simply being provided for ease of reference and access and to continue the transparent reporting that we've done since the beginning. No presentation is being made and no dialogue is being sought with council at this time. It's just presented for information.
Thank you. And I won't turn to council to ask for input because any questions, given that it's involving litigation, we couldn't hold those discussions in open meeting. So thank you, Mr. Bornowski. Now, item 11.4, Elk Valley Fieldhouse Society lease and operating agreement. Again, a report from our CAO.
Thank you, Your Worship. Prepared the report with our Director and Manager in Parks, Facilities and Recreation. So Manager Hill will provide a bit of a presentation and I'll assist where needed.
Welcome, Manager Hill.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and members of council. Thank you for the opportunity to present today. This presentation outlines a brief history of how we got here today and the core terms of the lease and operating agreements with the Fernie Fieldhouse Society. Here's a brief overview of how we got to this point. Following the closure of the community center in June 2024, community groups came together and created the Elk Valley Fieldhouse Society since they saw a need for indoor recreation space in the community. On August 20th, 2024, council directed staff to meet with the Fernie Fieldhouse Society to discuss the proposed facility they wanted to build. Following this direction, staff met with the society to review important aspects of the project, including the agreement in principle, access and fees, land use options, site disclosure, and financial needs. A report summarizing these discussions was presented on September 24th, and council directed staff to consult with Tourism Fernie regarding RMI funding opportunities for the society to connect with key stakeholders. Staff confirmed support from the Provincial Ministry of Tourism, Arts, Culture, and Sport to reallocate some unused RMI funding for this project. While the society didn't submit a full engagement report, we've received many letters of support from related organizations. Staff held regular meetings with the society to keep communication open and broad outreach was done with the groups that responded. Staff provided an update at the October 8th, 2024 meeting where council adopted a resolution to support the Elk Valley Fieldhouse Society proposal, including a commitment of $525,000 in direct funding and a letter confirming council's intent to advance the lease agreement for the project. Since that meeting, staff have continued to work with the society to develop the lease and operating agreement attached to this report, which, if endorsed and executed, will allow the initiative to move forward. Following the October 8th, 2024 meeting and resolution from council, staff have continued to work with the society to develop the lease and operating agreements. Following extensive collaboration between the society, the city staff, and legal counsel for both parties, draft lease and operating agreements have been prepared for council's consideration. We can now review the core terms of the lease. The core lease agreement includes the long-term use of municipal land. The lease provides the society with exclusive use of the land for a term of 60 years. While the rent is nominal, the society will be responsible for all costs tied to the property. This setup means that there is no financial burden to the city. However, it also means the city doesn't receive any revenue, and the city is not directly responsible for the facility's upkeep or programming. The agreement requires the construction of the facility to start by September 1st, 2026, and be completed within 180 days of the second anniversary of the lease start date. If unforeseen circumstances arrive, timelines can be extended upon mutual agreement. Under the lease, all aspects of construction are the society's responsibility, and the building and all improvements remain property of the society for the full term. The city has no responsibility for repairs or maintenance. The lease also includes standard indemnity and liability protections for the city, along with insurance requirements that must be met by the society. These provisions are consistent with the Municipal Insurance Association of BC's recommendations and help limit the city's legal and financial exposure over the lease term. At the end of the lease, or if it ends early, ownership of the building and all improvements reverts to the city unless otherwise agreed. There are also clear provisions requiring the leasee to remove, repair, or rebuild in the event of any damage or destruction during the lease period. We can now review the core operating agreement terms. The operating agreement provides for the long-term stewardship and public access of the facility while clearly outlining the responsibilities of both parties. The society will manage all operations, maintenance, and scheduling, and will cover the full costs of running the facility. The field house will remain open to the public with on-site supervision and a focus on community and recreational use. Bookings and fees will be handled by the society under a priority of use schedule, ensuring fair access to all. The lease includes city indemnification and insurance aligned with MIABC standards. Each year, the society will provide an annual budget and a 5-year plan operating under a cost recovery model with reserves. The lease term is 10 years, renewable by agreement, with the city retaining the right to terminate in the event of a serious violation of the lease. With the execution of these agreements, there are several important considerations. First, the agreement gives the Elk Valley Fieldhouse Society exclusive use of this site, meaning that the city can no longer authorize it for other users. This is also a busy community hub, and parking considerations will need to be addressed. City staff and the society will collaborate to ensure both current and future site uses are incorporated into this plan. During the fieldhouse construction, the existing arena boards will need to be removed. City staff will work with the fieldhouse team and the Outdoor Rink Society to ensure the boards are carefully taken down and properly stored so they can be installed at a future location, should the Outdoor Rink Society continue developing an outdoor winter ice facility. Finally, these agreements follow the Elk Valley Fieldhouse Society to allow the Elk Valley Fieldhouse Society to formally apply for permits. Staff anticipate that they will request priority review for this project. While we currently do not have a formal prioritization policy, due to the significant municipal investment, the dedication of high-value land, and clear public need, staff are prepared to prioritize this application and provide enhanced consultation. The impact on other applications remains uncertain and will depend on the quality of submissions. The proposed lease and operating agreements with the Elk Valley Fieldhouse Society provide a sustainable, community-driven approach to developing and managing new indoor recreation space on city-owned land. The agreements ensure the facility is constructed, operated, and maintained at no risk to the city or cost to the city, while delivering long-term public benefit. Approval of these agreements will allow the society to move forward with the Fieldhouse project, supporting council's strategic goal of enhancing community services through effective partnerships. In conclusion, advancing these agreements represent a low-risk, high-benefit opportunity for the community and aligns closely with council's priorities. The following outlines the options and recommendation for council. So options 1, the council endorse the agreement as presented and authorize the execution of them. 2, that council direct changes to the agreements and re-engage with the society for further negotiations. 3, that council direct staff otherwise. Staff recommend option 1, that council endorse and execute agreements as presented. Thank you.
Thank you, Manager Hill. Questions or comments from council? I just have one quick one. The proposed lease is 60 years. Presumably the lifespan of the facility that's being constructed is 60 years.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Smith.
Thanks, Mayor Milligan. So, as some of you may know, I was involved with the Lions Club when this thing went in, and what drove us to try and get that going, and it wasn't just the Lions, there was a lot of from the ground up kind of people coalesced around this thing, was that our rink was out of service and people couldn't skate. And we wanted to safeguard and continue allowing the sports in town. And so we all stepped up and did that. That was the whole reason why we did it. I myself spent the entire night before it opened shoveling. Some areas were slush, the temperature was dropping. It just wasn't going to be good to open if it didn't happen. One of the Elks showed up and helped me. And that was the big issue with that thing. It was huge. Nobody really wanted to shovel it. We were all trying really hard until Mr. Sombrowski stepped up. And that whole thing ran for a lot of years fairly well because Mr. Sombrowski personally cleared the snow. And as one of the people who did put some of my effort into it, I see that land now being able to step in and fill the gap for our community center in the very same way it filled the gap for our outdoor rink. And to hazard this field house at this time, I think, is a folly. The town has tons of pipes that are in a very bad state. We're losing more than half the water we pump, or roughly half the water we pump to leaks. We've got issues with our sewage system. I mean, we recently closed a community center because we can't afford necessary repairs. And here we have an opportunity where from the ground up, community people want to put something in place for the community and provide a huge benefit, better than we had before. I think to discourage them or to jerk them around in any way is short-sighted and foolish because we can't afford a giant sports complex or anything of the sort when we have so many other things that desperately need the money and the taxes are already high. As far as outdoor rinks, I think that's great. I love it. We used to have one in front of the courthouse. I think perhaps changing our fixation from that particular site, which personal experience tells me is very hard to maintain, and perhaps readjusting the expectation of where and how it can be set up, I think might be our way forward there. But I definitely don't see any reason to hazard this Fieldhouse Society and the awesome thing that they're going to try and contribute to the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Audie Kelly.
I'd like to actually say I support everything that Councillor Shoesmith said. I too was part of the inception of that outdoor rink, along with the Lions, the Sombrowskis, the Shoesmiths. We sat with former CAO McInnes to look at sites, and ironically, one of the sites that we were going to consider for that rink was Cervello Field. When we chose the site that we did, where it's currently sitting, it was never meant to be a permanent solution there because that site has for many years, and I believe in the OCP, your worship, has tagged as a possible new recreation facility. That being said, I think the Fieldhouse Society has done wonderful work, and I'm also really proud of the Fernie Outdoor Rink Society folks that stepped up. I think we should fully support the field house. I would like us to expedite it. It is abundantly clear that we need an indoor recreation and gathering space, and they have worked very hard to provide it. I understand that we possibly are in possession of a parking study that might help that project move quicker. And if so, I would like to see that shared. I also understand from speaking directly to a member of the Outdoor Rink Society board that they do have some other sites in mind. So it would be very nice to see us speak to them about those other options that they were considering themselves. I understand they've done some groundwork to look at options, to measure. They're asking that we see that the boards are numbered because they've aged over the years, and I think we should fully cooperate with them to relocate that site. Perhaps this winter, if it's too onerous to resurrect the whole entire thing, we could look at doing something smaller. So I'd like to see us support the field house 150%, 200%. And I would also like to see us work with and continue to support the Fernie Outdoor Rink Society as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Seeing nothing else, I'll ask our corporate officer to read the staff recommendation in the agenda, please.
The staff recommendation is that council approve the lease and operating agreements with the Elk Valley Fieldhouse Society for the construction and operation of a field house on the site of the existing outdoor rink, and that council authorize the mayor and chief administrative officer to execute the agreements upon completion of the required public notice period.
Moved by Councillor Ramdas, seconded by Councillor McIsaac. Any further discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Manager Hill. Councillor McIsaac.
Thank you, Worship. I just want to ask if we need to have a discussion with regards to staff direction about prioritizing the thing, or if that feeling has already been communicated through the current discussion.
Well, it actually was contained in the staff report, and that Manager Hill did talk about prioritizing this facility. So, Mr. Bornowski, can you speak to that?
Yeah, thank you, Worship, and Council for the question. In the staff report, we note we're prepared to. If Council is of the opinion that you would like formal direction to make it a priority, with the understanding that we don't yet have an application, we have confidence in the team that they have working, but we don't know the state of it, so we can't comment on how quickly it can be processed, or how much of that extra facilitation work may be required at the expense of other live permits. I would appreciate it, just a resolution that's Council directs staff to prioritize the field house permit as a city partnered project.
Councillor Ramdas, you're moving that
Yes.
recommendation?
Yep.
Seconded by Councillor Hamilton. Any discussion? Councillor Hamilton?
At this stage, do we have any idea, granted we haven't actually received an application, but what other projects are kind of in process or that might be delayed?
I'll ask Manager Similini to step up and just talk about the volume of applications that are currently in terms of building permits. What I will say is we have a number of really significant city partner projects, including 692 3rd, including the now live childcare and affordable housing project after the change in construction management and partners, to the point where one of our building officials is essentially our priority partnered project building official, and then is providing the guidance and the leadership for the others on the team. So there is a portfolio, and we really have limited any sort of queue adjustment to specifically where the taxpayers are investing directly in projects through land or through financial, or where there's an immediate known life safety concern to neighboring properties or adjoining properties. And Mr. Similini.
Thank you, Michael. Through to council. Yeah, it would just be a matter of anything that we have on the go as far as our day-to-day permit applications right now would be, like a staff member would be taken off of those. So it's really dependent on the completeness of the application, the amount of consultation that goes back and forth between the building officials and the Fieldhouse Society, or the applicant in this case. That being said, we have scheduled, it was mentioned earlier tonight that we've scheduled a pre-application meeting, I believe for next week, is penciled in right now. We're hoping to have a building official present at that meeting as well to help to lay out the application process and what might happen. And the hope is that that would make it so that less work has to be done on the after the application is received.
Thank you, Mr. Simile. Councillor Shoesmith, did you have your hand up?
Thank you, Mayor Milligan. I was gonna ask about resourcing and that department and our part-time building officials, but it's not part of the regular agenda, so I'll forego that.
Thank you. And I want to thank council for raising this, because I do think, one, I am incredibly grateful to the Fieldhouse Society for the work they've done. And two, we are still haunted as a community by the loss of the community center, and I'd like to get this dealt with as soon as possible. So prioritization is key, I think, from my perspective. So I fully support this. Anything else? With that in mind, all those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. Okay, sorry, jumping around in the agenda here. But there's nothing else the Fieldhouse needs from us, presumably at this juncture. No, okay. Item 8.1. Coal Creek Road Development Variance Permit, a report from our manager of engineering. Mr. Pennell.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Back 2 weeks later to present the development variance permit submitted by Montaigne Developments to vary the requirement for, sorry, I'm just trying to get the screen so I can read it here. Okay. Present the additional public feedback, supplementary information regarding the variance permit I just mentioned. I'll keep this figure up on the screen, or we'll be able to come back to it to speak to it, because otherwise I don't have really great visuals in this presentation. But so as you heard, public feedback has been consistent with what you heard this evening from Mr. Jeffries and Mr. Russell, I believe, as well as a few others, which have been shared in the agenda. Summarizing here, the general objection to the proposed variance and the kind of consensus that at least asphalt paving is requested to address the key concerns of dust. I won't read every word off the slide here, to be honest. You've kind of heard it all from the folks here this evening, but dust, risk to the environment from runoff, the community standard and property values, and upholding the standard for future developments, and as well as the noise generated from heavy traffic on a gravel road. We did receive some comments back from the developer after the concerns that were discussed in the previous regular council meeting on the 14th of October. The developers since committed to installing clear and direct signage at the campground entrance and exit, directing pedestrians across the road to the existing Coal Creek Heritage Trail, which leads directly downtown. Another mitigation to or improvement to pedestrian safety would be low-level shielded lighting at the entry and exit point with visibility for crossing the Coal Creek Road, and including trailhead signage highlighting the distance, walking time, and reminders to use flashlights or headlamps after dark on that trail to get them safely to town. There's also a mention, there was discussions on varying the lighting standard to achieve a more dark skies approach, and the developer has indicated that that was a deliberate design choice. I think some of the public feedback was agreeing that maybe lighting didn't need to be upheld, so potentially a partial variance from the bylaw in that case. So keep it short. In conclusion, like I said, you've heard some clear opposition to the proposed variance. But upholding a portion of the bylaw by requiring asphalt pavement is still expected to require more investment into the road maintenance funds versus just the annual grading and dust suppression operations. That's still applicable from the cost comparison in the previous report for the October 14th meeting. So the recommendation still stands from staff that council issue the development variance permit. That's all I have to present today.
Thank you, Mr. Purnell. Questions, comments from council? Councillor Nixon.
Thank you, Worship. Wasn't here for the last meeting, I was away. We know that we have one single user for this paved road. We know that the dust and noise is going to disturb everyone in that area. And having experienced the last 6 years of feedback over one road, I believe we need to do something so that we have a plan for eventually paving this road. And it doesn't have to, like Mr. Russell said, it doesn't have to be curbs and gutters. It can just be asphalt. You look at 60% occupancy for 2-day visits, 22,000 kilometers, 22,000 trips per year, or probably 60 trips a day. I was listening to the meeting today from October 14th, and we were thinking about 30,000 trips on that road per year, but that's only at 60% occupancy. So this new campground is going to bring new visitors who will leave our community with rattling trailers, and it's going to be just as bad as the Montaigne Parkway Road. So I think we need to do something for this. I don't know what the options are. I know earlier in our term, we had a parcel tax for a part of the Cedars.
A lift station, yeah.
A lift station. So I think we need to do something that's going to make everybody happy in this situation, residents and visitors alike.
Thank you, Councillor. Just for clarity, it's a public road. It's not one user for this road. There'll still be a lot of snowmobilers going down there but it does raise for me actually something. I've been thinking about this a lot. And I apologize, Mr. Purnell, from your initial report, this feels very binary. Like it is paved or it's not paved. And I've been wondering, because I apologize, I discovered after the latest update, I can't open PDFs today. I wanted to go back to look at the inundation study, because I recall one of the considerations was you don't want to pave a road that's potentially going to fall into the creek because it creates a significant environmental. But that inundation study, as I recall, am I wrong to suggest that where it overlaps with Coal Creek Road is east of the current bridge into the Montaigne campground?
Mayor, there's two key locations that inundation would affect the road on both sides of the bridge access, but the variance, as you may recall, is for both phases of the campground, which extends past the previously damaged section of Bull Creek Road from the 2021 atmospheric event. So
So there is a portion, sorry to interrupt you, there is a portion of the inundation study that suggests west of the bridge, the road could be inundated. Now, is that avulsion or is that just surface water? Do we know from the inundation study what
it
that
generally
tells us?
appears to be surface water, just the flood level. I don't know how much I'm not fully aware of what erosion modeling they would have had on that road and that existing structure there. I just know the flood level water shows it over top of the road. And so depending on the behavior of the current in that flood situation, you may or may not have extreme erosion, or the road may survive as is, but it's not armored completely. Thank you. Okay, so there is a simulated flood velocity, and you're looking at approximately 4.5, like the highest velocity in the river along the road to the west of the current access bridge. So that being probably the section of road that is of public's most concern. Just, I guess, additional context for trying to pave that section, it would be extensive work, not only the typical subgrade preparation required there to be able to pave it. You can't just put pavement on top of the existing gravel that's there. You would then need engineered controls along the river there that currently aren't inspected or engineered to protect that road.
So sorry, that's the entire length of the road or at certain junctures?
I think I don't have the way to pull this up on the screen. That's not my presentation. Yeah. Sorry, from the NHC flood study, like we're showing approximately 300-400 meters basically between the paved section of Coal Creek and the Montane Bridge, that entire section where the road is along the river or the creek, sorry. That section has high velocities, would be subject to damage from flood. So if we go and pave it, the gist of it from the previous report was that if we were to pave that, then our risk of a rehab cost is higher in a flood event if it was a paved structure.
But that's our risk and liability was calculated based on paving it for both phases? Or was our risk and liability calculated based on phase one versus maintaining it for phase one, and phase two versus maintaining it for phase two, meaning the whole thing, if you understand what I'm saying? Well, because when I say it feels binary, I don't recall a conversation where we had a cost to engineer and pave to the bridge. And then, because it struck me from the inundation study, the greatest risk was from the bridge east, from that piece of road. And then certainly the road that was affected most significantly in 2021.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just trying to bring this up as a visual because we're all kind of pointing or kind of trying to envision in our head. So you can see my cursor on here. The cost assessment or analysis that was conducted in the previous report to council looked at that kilometer of road being paved by the developer to access phase two if the variance wasn't granted. And the cost of a resurface in 25 years No additional cost assessment was made on the implication of flood. We just indicated that it would be more expensive than reestablishing the current level of service, the current gravel post-flood situation. And if you were to pave it and not armor it, that risk is higher. So I think if you were to invest the money to pave and maintain the road as a paved road, it would make sense to armor it such that you don't lose that investment and that access.
That includes any section of the road, like if it's been suggested we were paid just to phase one, because that on some level seems to ameliorate a lot of the impacts to the community. And but I guess
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I'm maybe not articulating my, can we have a cost sort of broken out three ways? Paving and appropriately armoring, engineering that section of road versus paving the entire section for both phases versus the cost of maintenance for those phases.
I think for phase one, particularly, a mutually economic solution would just be to use the paved Montaigne Parkway and access phase one from Montaigne Parkway.
From the Montaigne side.
Yeah, and have a secondary, because the way that it's been proposed by the developer is that they would prefer to have a primary access on Coal Creek, and they're as in their flood evacuation plan, they've indicated the emergency access or egress would be on Montaigne Parkway. Like you said, if you take a non-binary kind of approach that you're trying to find an in-between grounds, is potentially to encourage the developer to make the primary access the paved Montaigne Parkway to their parcel and have Coal Creek as a secondary emergency access only, which would reduce the traffic and a lot of the concerns. And by all indications, the developer may be prepared to do something like that, but we have just proposed that they proposed a variance which I, in my mind, supports the phase two part of the campground more so, because the phase one and phase two campgrounds, you can see up on the screen, have a connection over the creek, but it's just a pedestrian bridge. So you would, for them to develop phase two, you wouldn't be able to primarily access that from the Montaigne Parkway.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So it's additional information, I guess, but.
Councillor Hamilton.
Thank you, Your Worship. Two questions. So first question, speaking of this kind of phasing approach to the paving and the armoring of the roadway for the section that could be inundated, who would be responsible for that cost? Would that be part of the road upgrades, or would that be some cost that would then be borne by the city instead to protect that asset once it's handed over to us?
I'd have to consult the diking authority, but I don't think this would fall into an engineered dike for inspection and maintenance, but it would be something along the lines of a river training type structure. Depending on what kind of services and that we would want to have in that road, it might justify more investment in protecting it too. If it were to, for instance, raised this evening as well, if there were to have utilities in the road to service future uses, such as the old landfill area as a recreational space. Like there's lots of other reasons that road could have more in it than just paving on top. I don't know how we would split the cost on protecting that road, but I don't believe that the developer would be I can't speak for them, but I don't believe they would want to entertain the cost of protecting that.
Okay, and if I may, as a segue from that last statement about the development of the old dump site, if this variance were granted now, and then in 5, 10 years, or whatever that timeline, future timeline might look like, that site does get developed, who would be most responsible? Who would be responsible to upgrade the road, the access to that? Would that be the city, or would the developer, or would we have a mechanism for the developer to cover some of those costs?
I think I'd have to take that question away. I'm not sure what mechanism or covenants or agreements we would be able to make for something that doesn't necessarily affect the developer. Yeah, I think the time to have them commit to paving would be for this development, phase 1 or phase 2 or both. Obviously, the variance permit is for phase 1 and 2.
Mr. Boranowski?
Thank you. Just further to the question on who would bear the costs, it is an existing city road. It's unlikely that there is a strong position of negotiation to secure funding to protect an existing city road, even if the developer is required to then invest into upgrades on the surface or servicing in the road itself. It's an existing city road, so if we want to protect it, we may have to fund that protection ourselves. And then other than that, the comment is correct. Road upgrades borne by a specific developer are most easily secured when it enables the development that they're seeking to advance. Future developments, if there were major projects happening that then required a major upgrade to that road, would most likely be borne by that project's total costs.
Thank you. Councillor Shoesmith?
Thank you. My question's been answered.
Councillor Ramirez?
Thanks, Your Worship. I agree with you. It's the whole report seems to be like, one or the other. There's some middle path. Like Councillor Nixon mentioned, I don't know what that path looks like either. But having a connector from Mountain Parkway as your primary and having an exit or an egress from Coal Creek, while in theory it might sound good, but in practice, you know what happened with Mountain Parkway. That was always supposed to be your primary that was the egress, I believe.
Yeah, emergency egress.
Exactly. And from Whitetail, I guess it was the primary. So while the concept sounds great, but I know in practice that won't happen. That is my worry as well.
Thank you. Councillor Ade Kelly and then Councillor Shoesmith.
Your Worship, I was trying to, when you were speaking, I wanted them to show the map because it seems to me that it's kind of two different things as well, right? Paving up to the current bridge to the community farm, and then the further paving that would take us almost to the River Road, where Montaigne has the yellow gate sort of across from the old landfill, is phase 2, right? So to be honest with you, I think we need more information at this point.
That's kind of my feeling. Like when I said it was binary, it was exactly that. It's one or the other. What's the middle ground, and what do we know that cost? Director?
If I may, the reason that it's binary, in my opinion, is that that's what the applicant provided to us. So we did discuss with the applicant, are you open to suggesting this other option or a cost sharing agreement by which you should bear the costs of increased maintenance, or, we did discuss any other alternatives, and this was the application the applicant made. And so that's why we haven't, as staff, inserted any additional options for council's consideration, because the applicant asked for this package. And so as you know, council can say, to this variance application, no, but to you're welcome to suggest, but we did not suggest options in the report because that was not applied for.
Understood. Thank you. Councillor Shoesmith.
Thank you, Mayor Milligan. Having seen what's going on down there, I kind of like the overall sort of vision and plan of the place. And, I was thinking a lot about our last meeting there, if that was the right decision. And I got the emails from several people. And to be blunt, my first thought was, oh, a bunch of NIMBYs, that always happens. But then I read stuff and read what they were saying. And I realized, no, these people aren't NIMBYs. They're not against that there's something happening. They have an issue with exactly how. And to me, that makes sense. So I started thinking about that with the potential of not granting this variance and requiring all those things. Having been up at Burma Road Estates there, nobody really likes the lighting or any of that, but the asphalt sure is nice. And I was really back and forth on it in my head for a while. And then I thought, actually, we've required asphalt of our other developers and campgrounds and everything else. And to allow an exception in one case for one guy isn't really fair. It's not a really good playing field to set. And I think we should probably get some more information on this, perhaps some numbers around armoring the dike and what have you. No, not dike, road. I'm not sure that would be beneficial, but we'll know when we have some numbers or some more info. I think we should definitely, as it stands, I wouldn't vote for this, but if it were to come back with just the paving or some middle ground, I would definitely vote for that.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor McIsaac.
Thank you, Worship. I won't belabor. Most of the questions I had written down have been asked probably several times now. Where I'm at with this, the first thing I wanted to say is after the last meeting, I wanted to commend the developer's proposal for the lighting out there. I feel like it's very thoughtful, taking advantage of the existing pathway and directions and so on, which was a great response to the feedback that came out of the last time. I do think from having heard, both from having heard from the public and listened to the discussion tonight and considered, and I mentioned this at the last meeting, the consideration of what has happened previously when we have decided to forego requesting paving when it was a normal course of development and choosing not to do that. We saw many, many years of discontent from people after, someone went and removed city property and threw it in the river with disregard both for the community and the environment, causing that road to be used constantly and a source of consternation for the entire community and for the city and for city council and staff. I don't blame the developer because we decided that. That was the choice here to say, no, you don't have to do what all the other developers are doing. I'm very reluctant, pardon the pun, to go down that road again. So I do think that there's probably a lot of value in reconsidering whether or not we need to have sidewalks and curbs and so on out there, especially knowing that there's an existing pathway for access and so on. But as far as the paving goes and the benefit to that area and the community that's already there and so on, I think those should be given consideration. So if the decision is, let's go back and ask for more information about breaking up what that paving looks like and what the costs of the additional cost to doing the paving are, then I would support that so that we can find out that information. But right now, I would support paving without the additional accoutrements.
Yeah, I feel the same way, and I apologize to you, Manager Pennell, for not raising this last time, but I sort of sat with this for a while, and I feel like we need some optionality here. And so my preference it goes back to the developer. We have a conversation about what the potential options are, and we as council also have a better understanding of the length, the range of costs that we will bear, either through the construction of this or maintaining it afterwards. Councillor Ramadas.
I propose to move direct staff, otherwise, Your Worship.
Agreed. Yeah. Seconded? And do, yeah, yeah, please. And I'm very grateful to Director Weir for her clarification that it's binary because it was presented as binary. So thank you. Do you need a few minutes? Oh, Mr. Bornowski.
If I can, Your Worship, does council have specific areas where they want to see optionality and cost analysis or breakdown? And is it specific to the paving of Coal Creek? Or is it also related to lighting, curbing, or sidewalk as well? Because if it is specifically about the asphalt surface and paving at this point in time, that helps staff narrow the discussion and communication with the developer. If it's everything, which is fine. And then I would request, if that's the direction, just for a 5-minute recess so that the corporate officer and the director and I can work on a resolution for council.
Well, I'll look to council, but my instinct here is to say, let's focus on the paving. I think that's will prove to be the primary issue, as has been raised with Montaigne Parkway, for example. And there is a strong case for maintaining a certain rustic nature for much of that approach in that landscape. And I think that's fair. I don't think that's inappropriate, but that would be my recommendation, that it be focus on the paving, and unless anybody objects to that. Seeing no objections. Councillor Roddy Kelly. Microphone.
Sorry, Your Worship.
No.
The paving being the two distinct parts seems
Yeah.
important to me.
I think so, breaking it out, exactly right, yeah. Is that helpful, Mr. Barnowski? So do you want a 5-minute recess to?
If that would be great, yes.
Thank you, yeah, we'll take a 5-minute recess, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bruno. Yeah. One more minute. Are we ready? Could we reconvene, please, council?
Yeah. So it's technically correct.
Yeah, you can't crunch those into the like. Whenever you're ready, Ms. Rhodes, thank you. Yeah, we'll let these folks exit and. Awesome. Do you want to read the proposed?
Yes, yep.
Resolution, please?
Okay. So the proposed resolution is that council confirm, aside from paving, they support the variance permit and direct staff to work with the developer to bring forward options that vary the application to include the paving of Coal Creek Road to a future meeting for consideration of issuance.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Ramadas, seconded by Councillor Shoesmith. Discussion? Mr. Bornowski.
Thank you, council. It's just worth noting, the team mentioned it. There is access off of Montaigne Parkway for phase one. So the applicant may determine to go a different route with phase two and abandon the variance application and seek access through their alternative access point for phase one only. We don't have a means for compelling upgraded access for phase one, as they do have another access point, but phase two is off of Coal Creek Road.
Understood. Yeah, thank you. Any discussion from council? Seeing none, all those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. Sorry. Item 10.1, a delegation bylaw amendment, a report from our corporate officer.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I have no visual presentation provided this evening. However, I do want to provide Council with some key remarks. As you will see from your agenda package, I'm here to discuss municipally significant events and to seek Council's consideration of proposed updates to the delegation bylaw, along with accompanying policy and procedure documents. Most of the details are outlined in my report and its attachments already provided to Council, so I'll keep my remarks focused on the key points Council provided during the Committee of the Whole meeting. Back on May 27th, staff presented the initial framework for municipally significant events at the Committee of the Whole meeting. At that time, Council provided thoughtful and constructive feedback. We've since taken that input to help refine the final bylaw amendment to the delegation bylaw, the MSE policy and the procedure now before you today. The revised framework directly reflects Council's direction regarding delegated authority. It ensures that the corporate officer only or their deputy can evaluate and approve event requests in full alignment with the LCRB requirements. It also introduces clear timelines and a more efficient process to better support both event organisers and staff capacity. With these refinements, staff are recommending that Council give first, second and third reading to Amendment Bylaw 2532-2025 and adopt the accompanying municipally significant events request policy and procedure. This framework establishes a transparent and consistent process, one that supports a vibrant community with our events, promotes inclusion and civic pride, and most importantly, streamlines administrative processes. That concludes my remarks. I'd be happy to take any questions from Council.
Councillor Hamilton?
I did have one question. It's a little bit granular, but with regards to business day and the definition of a business day, is that a standard definition across all of our bylaws and policies?
Although I would like that to be a standard definition across all our bylaws and policies. No, this one is one that I've used from, I think it's a Local Government Act. It might be the Community Charter. I can't quite remember, but I can get the answers to you for that.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And then just as a follow-up, given I didn't actually write it down in my notes, but I'll paraphrase the definition as a day that City Hall is open. How would we handle days where City Hall is closed for a portion of the day, but not the whole day? You know, if there was a morning all staff meeting or something and City Hall was closed, would that count as a business day or not?
Yeah, when City Hall doors are open for business, would count as a business day, yep.
Councillor McIsaac, I saw some pre-verbal tension. You're.
Wow, this is sharp tonight. Yeah, actually, I was going to move the recommendation, and then if there's a seconder, I have a comment, Your Worship.
Seconded by Councillor Hamilton.
My comment is this: supporting local events to meet the rules and regulations of the provincial government does not sound like a policy decision. No. So delegating this type of work to staff, I think, is good use of time and poor use of council's time.
100% agree. Any other discussion? Seeing none, are you comfortable reading the recommendation from there,
Yep,
Ms. Mackey?
certainly. So the staff recommendation is that delegation bylaw number 2467, amendment bylaw number 2532-2025 be given first, second and third reading, and that council adopt the municipally significant events request policy number CP 2025-01 and accompanying procedure document.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor McIsaac, seconded by Councillor Hamilton. All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. And,
thank you, Council.
And flattering Council in your report is always a good idea.
Thank you.
Item 10.2, Business Licensing Bylaw Report from our Deputy Director of Finance. Or are you currently acting Director of Finance? No, no pressure.
Apologies.
Not at all.
Good evening, Council. I have a short presentation for you tonight on our business license fees. This came before Council last week on October 21st. Just to summarize what has happened so far, in June, Bryn presented two options for increasing fees for Council. One was a flat increase from the current price of $100 to $150. The second approach was more of a tiered approach based upon the type of businesses that's applying for the business license. Council in June agreed on the approach that we should spend some more time collecting public feedback on the issue. The completed public consultation resulted in general support in increasing fees with a split preference between the two options that were presented. And so with that in mind, given the even split between the two approaches and the fact that the tiered approach would require quite a bit more time to administer and monitor, staff thinks the best option for business license fee increase would be the flat fee increase to $150. So the recommendation for tonight is for Council to give initial 3 readings to the business license bylaw amendment. Thank you. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Deputy Director Mullen. Questions from Council? Councilor Kelly.
One of the things, Your Worship, that occurred to me is, have we built in future-proofing the amount of the license? Because one of the reasons we're looking at increasing the cost is to cover costs, not really to generate revenue, but to actually cover the cost of issuing the licenses. So how would the mechanism be that we would have to redo the bylaw to increase it? Or say, for example, we were partnered with an agency and wanted to give them a portion of the funding. Would that be, again, changing the whole bylaw? I'm not quite sure what how that would work.
Well, I think in the second example, that would require a change of the bylaw. I think, and you forgive me, Deputy Director, the fee schedule is a schedule attached to the bylaw, so that doesn't require the bylaw being changed to change the schedule. However, is there, and forgive me, I should know, is there periodic review built into the bylaw?
I don't think it explicitly states a periodic review, but we can have it set on a schedule to review within the Finance Department.
Yeah, I think that would be preferable if we can set it on a schedule. Councilor Hamilton?
Thank you. In reading through the amendments to the bylaw, it jogged my memory about our intercommunity business license. Do we still have those?
We do, and it is an additional $100 on top of the regular business license.
Okay,
So then business within Fernie, if they're buying a regular business license, it would be $250 at that point for the intercommunity business license that
Okay,
gives them
so-
access to Sparwood, Elkford, I believe, South Country as well.
so it's just set as $100 on top of the other.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. And you don't need, and I'll look to our CAO, you don't need a resolution to build in a periodic review.
No, Your Worship. I think the annual budgeting process and finance department has been doing a better job of reviewing fees annually. We are just continuing to look more closely at non-taxation fees as a regular part of doing business.
Perfect. Thank you. Councillor Nixon.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was away for the last meeting as well, the committee of the whole. So I apologize for being away and taking my wife on vacation, or she taking me on vacation. I'm just curious about the lemonade stand and whether that be Little Johnny or Little Jenny or whoever, do they pay the same business license fee as Canadian Tire? Just curious about that. Because maybe I missed it in the report. I don't know. I'm just curious. Lemonade stands or, you know, that ilk.
Hypothetically, the lemonade stand and Canadian Tire would be paying the same business license fee of $150.
We do not ask, just to be clear, so the folks at home, we do not ask lemonade stands to pay a business license fee.
Thank you. I agree. But if children or young people want to play by the books and have a lemonade stand and they need to pay $150, you know, that's a lot of money, right? So, you know, and I'm, you know, part of me is being, you know, just illustrating the differences between the two, but,
yeah,
you know, I really like that tiered support, the tiered part of it as well. And having and I'm not really going to make a lot of sense because I'm pretty tired, but having that, you know, the majority of businesses being like, there's a problem in the report where it says we can't differentiate between who makes more money and that sort of stuff. That's going to be hard for staff. But I think if it's self-reporting, if you check a box on how much income you fall into and you have it between, you know, let's say under $10,000, you don't pay anything. Between 50 and 250, you pay 200. And if you between 250 and $1 million, you pay 500, et cetera, et cetera. And if you're over $1 million, maybe you pay 750. So a monthly fee of $62 on $1 million business is not very much money for a business fee. So my point is the tiered approach gives that lemonade stand and small little craft people that work at the farmer's market, it doesn't cost them anything. But people like, you know, large businesses in town, they pay more and they can self-report. And I'm not asking for, you know, for staff to go out and hammer down on lemonade stands or on Canadian Tire or, you know, the Best Western or whatever, but I think a self-reporting system would work the best. And I think a majority of businesses, when we were at the chamber event last year, they said that they would be willing to pay more. And I run a business and I would be willing to pay more than $150. So those are my 2 bits. Take it for what it is.
Councillor Shoesmith.
Thank you, Mayor Milligan. I was actually eagerly awaiting what Councillor McIsaac has to say on this. He was kind of smirking, but so, I mean, not even the CRA cares about a lemonade stand. They don't. Although there is a big gray area and the problem becomes definitions. You take a guy like me, say 1 year, I don't do any business, but then I go hang a window or do something for one guy one day for $100. Well, now the business fee is more expensive than my total yearly. Am I a business? No. Or should I be? There, you get really, really, really into the weeds very quickly because there isn't a clear divider. People kind of ease into and out of things. And just look at the tax code, how complicated that is, trying to determine on who should pay what for their safety rates, for all the varying things. I think that our bylaw is pretty good about having enough discretion to leave the lemonade stands alone. And I think that the 150 is about the expense recovery. And I think that it's a fair number that pretty well anybody doing more than a simple day's work can factor into things. I think that as it stands, it's more than good enough.
Thank you. Councilor McIsaac?
Thank you, Worship. Yeah, first I want to commend Councillor Nixon on the attempt to put a more progressive taxation facility in. Pay by means instead of need is a time-honored taxation system in our country. I appreciate it. The challenges and many technical challenges that would be faced in order to try to do this, and as Councillor Shoesmith said, we'd be in the weeds very, very quickly. I just wanted to reiterate a comment that I had made during the Committee of the Whole regarding the setting the flat fees. Other communities used different fee structures for different types of businesses and so on. And the comment that I made at the time was that I feel reluctant to have council be the thumb on the scale of where a business is considered good or bad to the community. And I feel that that's some of the risk of setting a tiered payment structure implies that if it's cheap, this is something that council thinks the community wants. We want to support more of it. We want more types of those businesses. And if it is expensive, then the risk is that the communication is we don't want these types of businesses and so on. And so by making it flat, we leave the free market to the free market, leave the community to decide what businesses are going to support, and we kind of stay out of that. Again, it goes back to this case of we don't want to be manipulating the market with the fee structure. We merely just want to cover the costs of managing it. So I think in that regard, the 150 seems far more straightforward. And quite frankly, should we have to start going through a tiered structure, we're going to increase the cost of the program even more. We would have to raise the fees yet again in order to cover the additional work that's being done. So I feel like the 150 accomplishes the goal.
Sorry, Mr. Bornowski, you had a comment?
Simply that our bylaw enforcement and business licensing is, we are actively enforce our business licensing bylaw. And that's a choice and a decision that we make. Council also does have, or municipalities also have the authority to provide exemptions to certain types of business from requiring licenses. And so council is being asked to provide 3 readings if it is a significant issue, that rather than looking at priority and discretion and enforcement as the tool, we should look at a specific and explicit exemption for children's lemonade stands in the bylaw, providing 2 readings to the bylaw and direction to staff to bring it back for a 3rd with that modification is also a workable solution.
Councillor Ramirez? Thank you, Mr. Bornowski.
Thanks, Your Worship. I agree with all that Councillor McIsaac was saying. And again, it's the free market that we are looking to solve this issue. But Councillor Nixon's point there was actually people self-choosing their income levels. So what he's suggesting is there's no administrative burden. As a business owner, you put in what your requirement is. Not that I support that. I mean, I appreciate where you come from. I support what you're saying, but that's the point of clarification here.
Councillor Shoesmith.
I would add that at the low end, a lot of these things that you would be worried about us wanting a business license fee from are just people paying other people like individuals, not incorporated. And there's nothing we have to say on that. Yeah.
Anything further? Councillor Nixon.
Thank you, Worship. Thank you for humoring me. This is a committee of the whole discussion and I missed it. So I was just trying to interject and throw some committee of the whole into this. So thank you very much for humoring me.
No, I appreciate you raising it. And I'm looking at our steely-eyed bylaw officers in the room and trust that they're not now going to descend on the rogue lemonade stands around our community. I'll turn to our corporate officer and ask you to read the recommendation as written, I think, yeah.
The staff recommendation is that the business license and regulation bylaw number 2028, 2006, amendment bylaw number 2539, 2025 be given first, second, and third readings.
Mover, Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Shoesmith. Any further discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The Land Use Application Procedures and Fees Bylaw number 2530, 2025, a report from our Manager of Planning, Mr. Similini.
Speakeasy lemonade stand is the only way around that, Your Worship. Your Worship, I don't have a presentation tonight, just the bylaws coming forward for adoption, so I'm here to answer any questions if there are.
Are there any questions from council? Councillor Hamilton, or you're moving it?
Just moving.
Okay. So the staff recommendation is that council adopt a land use application procedures and fee bylaw number 2530, 2025. Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Audie Kelly. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Similini. Don't go anywhere. Municipal Ticket Information Bylaw number 2041, a report from our Manager of Planning.
Again, Your Worship, no formal report, just bringing it forward for adoption and here to answer any questions.
So the recommendation is that council adopt Municipal Ticket Information Bylaw number 2041, amendment bylaw number 2538, 2025. Moved by Councillor Audie Kelly, seconded by Councillor McIsaac. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Similini. Now you can go. Item 11.1, Fernie Chamber of Commerce Economic Development and Rural Economic Diversification and Infrastructure Program, REDIP application, a report from our CAO.
Thank you, Your Worship. Council will recall earlier this year, they directed staff to work with the Chamber to bring back information on the Chamber's proposed economic development function, and that the Chamber developed the groundwork of that report. I provided a very brief covering report and cited the resolution specifically to enable the Chamber to come and present that information that they've developed. Council's direction was that the primary development be with the Chamber. And so rather than have them come as a delegation and limit Council's ability to ask staff questions, ask the Chamber questions, we provided it as a covering report. So they're here to present, and their Executive Director and Board President are both present.
Welcome, Ms. McDougall.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Wendy McDougall, Executive Director of the Fernie Chamber of Commerce, here to present about building economic capacity in our community. Our Chamber President, Anthony McElwee, is also here. So together, hopefully we can answer any of your questions. So at the meeting in July, Council requested information from the Chamber, including examples of successful economic development funding and outcomes be brought back as part of the early 2026 budget process. Since the meeting, a new grant opportunity has become available. Oh, I go too far. Oh, this is last presentation, sorry. The July presentation is in your package as well.
I'm just going to close a few.
In the package.
I'm sorry. Yep.
That's okay. So I'll just get started and then wait till the second slide comes up. Oh, you're so fast. Okay, great. So since that meeting, new grant opportunities become available, which I'll present on this evening, and we're seeking your endorsement for. A review of the business licenses has also been completed by the city, which has brought about another potential funding opportunity, which I'll also talk about. Next slide, please. So again, the chamber is here tonight to propose a fee-for-service agreement between the city and the Fernie Chamber of Commerce, an agreement that would support a Fernie-focused economic development role based at the chamber starting in 2026. We're also seeking council's support to direct staff to work with the chamber to apply for the REDIP grant. The grant would help fund a city chamber partnering agreement for economic development capacity, and if successful, thereby reducing the funds required for the service agreement request. With that context, the proposed resolutions are on your screen. Okay, so next slide. Last time we covered off the basis of what is economic development and why it's important. I was asked to come back and give you some tangible examples of what other communities are doing. I'll cover these as well as Cranbrook. I had a really interesting conversation with their EDO, and so I want to share some stats on that as well. So first off, in Columbia Valley, they've been funded for economic development since 2017 through the regional district. They are expanding into the realm of film sector development. So over the last 12 months, the Columbia Valley has put together a process to attract film production, established a first point of contact for filmmakers, and secured a grant to fund and hire a film coordinator whose role is to streamline processes and support new projects. They've recently landed their first film, All Night Wrong, a comedy, bringing back economic development for the region. Their unofficial estimate is $750,000 in economic impact from one production. Secondly, physician recruitment is a long-term initiative that combines personal outreach and strategic marketing efforts from the economic development team. The result is that they're seeing inquiries from physicians across Canada and internationally, and they've successfully retained returning locums. In Revelstoke, I thought this was a great example. Their city community economic development is housed at the municipal level. Revelstoke is a resource town, just like ours. What they did was recognize the limitations of tourism and resource, and so they've proactively diversified into the tech industry and capitalized on the installation of their high-speed fiber optic broadband, similar to Fernie. So they've established themselves as a community-wide technology strategy with funding of $100,000 from the BC Rural Dividend Fund. They've encouraged new investment, promoting Revelstoke as being innovative and technology-friendly community, attracting remote worker migration throughout. Another example I wanted to highlight was the commercial hub, because I think that's something that could be replicated in Fernie with the chamber. We don't have great statistics on it yet because it's relatively new, but we do know that it's working. What's not on your slide is talking about Cranbrook, but I did have a really successful conversation with Darren Brewer, who is the the Economic Development Officer at the city there. So a great example and rate of return on economic development is their Broad Street development, who's also proposing something here. So it's a major housing project that came directly from the work of the Economic Development Officer. What he was able to do was connect the developer with a suitable site and guide them through the approval process. So this was a 292 housing unit, and using Fernie's DCC rates, that works out to about $1.2 million in DCCs. Beyond DCCs, the project creates local jobs, added much needed housing, and increases the ongoing property tax revenue. They've kept the momentum going with housing. So in the past 5 years, they've issued over $300 million worth of value in building permits and constructed almost 900 dwelling units. Cranbrook's other major focus is in industrial land development, which is smart because it receives a high tax rate compared to residential and business. They have 2 parcels that they're actively promoting for development, one in aerospace and one in industrial. So they were able to take a parcel of land and convert it from ALR to industrial, and they're promoting that as aerospace near the airport. The second is for heavy industry, warehouse, logistics, and transportation operations. So it's interesting to look at the difference because when you see economic development at a municipal level, it's about increasing the tax base and mix, whereas in Invermere, it's about community and economic impact with film and recruitment. I wanted to highlight some local examples as well. So the Elk Valley Family Society development came as a direct result of collaboration at the Housing Solutions Working Group table, actually. So somebody pointed out, what are we going to do with that lot? Then the second question was, who has the capacity to take on a new project? The Elk Valley Family Society did. There happened to be an intake at the time, and we collaborated together and wrote letters of support, and it's under construction now. The second is the Chamber's Workforce Rental Housing Business Plan. And so I want to walk you through the timeline to illustrate the investment in economic development and sort of what it takes. So the Chamber identified workforce housing as a need in the community and applied for the REDIP grant in October 2023. Fast forward almost 2 years later, September 2025, we presented the results of that study to the community, and that sort of signaled the end of the grant and the start of where economic development funding would really kick in. The business, investor, and attraction strategy. So this is where it takes a lot of time and capacity and can't be on the corner of somebody's desk to really do that business attraction. So this might mean reaching out to 50 investors or developers, and then that whittles down to 20 meetings, and that turns into 1 to 2 projects. So at the end of the day, the goal is 200 units in 3 years. It's something I just made up, but that's kind of our goal. That would translate into $825,000 in DCCs, amongst other intended outcomes highlighted on the bottom. A return on investment for what we're asking today is 358%. And just this morning, I had a call with an investor or a funder, sorry, and a developer that is interested in a project like this in Fernie. So it's about building relationships and having the time to foster those relationships and yeah, time.
Councillor Ramirez?
Thanks, Your Worship. Just wanted to clarify here, October 2025, we are here and you're saying we've already done the business investor attraction strategy and all the connection with potential folks?
No, so that's sort of illustrated on the arrows on the bottom. So we presented to the community and wrapped up the grant in September. So starting now, October 2025, we're starting to do that investor attraction. So we're reaching out to developers and anybody that expressed interest at that lunch and learn to see if there's some traction. So for example, Generation Homes came and presented at our lunch and learn. So I was in Invermere for a volleyball tournament. I met up with her and she gave me a tour of their operation there. And yeah, taking the time to sort of build those relationships, doing site tours here to see if there's plots of land that would be viable for a similar development. Okay, so to switch gears, now we'll talk about how we're going to pay for it. So the REDIP grant opened over the summer, and under the capacity stream, it was a pretty good fit for what we proposed over the summer. So $50,000 a year for 3 years for eligible municipal government, and that covers 100% of the project costs, including wages. That's very unusual for grants to cover wages, but I think they recognize that building economic capacity is about the time spent and dedicating a specific role to that. Also eligible for an additional $100,000 for project development in years 2 and 3. So if something's come out of the first year work plan that would warrant additional funding, that could be available to us. Fernie
Sorry, Ms. McDougall. So that's, says eligible communities, but that would be communities that qualified for the 50,000 years for 3 years.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is worded funny. But if you've got the grant for the 150 total over 3 years, then you'd be eligible to apply for that.
Thank you.
Fernie is eligible as a rural 2 community. So given our size and where we're located, we meet that matrix. However, unfortunately, the chamber is not able to apply for this grant on their own. It needs to be applied for through the municipality, and we could be a partner. And it's due on Friday.
Trick or treat.
So the next slide, if you don't mind, Michael, that's okay. So this is in the report from the CAO. Basically, the city would be the lead applicant and the Chamber of Commerce would be the partner. We've given it a fancy title of a partnership, building economic capacity. And then the description is all of the words that we've been describing economic development as we've described it so far. And then on the next slide is a revised work plan for year 1. So it's changed a bit since the last time it was presented to reflect more of a city-driven priority. So I reviewed this with the CAO in early October, and so we've changed a few elements out of that to make it more of a partnering agreement and less chamber member-driven. And then the notepad noted on there are things that we are currently already working on. So just another indication why this would really fit with the chamber. And then next slide, please. So this sort of came about over the summer. So the next funding opportunity would be again through the city. So we're trying not to increase taxation. And so another route would be through business licenses. So the city announced that it would be conducting a review of business licenses over the summer, which is now complete and you just heard about. We did look into whether or not it would make sense for the chamber to administer those on a fee-for-service basis, and we both agreed, the director of finance and myself, that that was not a viable option. But what did come forward were 2 examples of where a portion of business license revenue would go to fund chamber or economic development. So that was sort of our proposal, and depending on how much you were going to charge for a business license, a portion of that could go to the chamber or to fund economic development. Because business licenses are on a cost recovery basis, that would give you the flexibility if you wanted to charge more than $150. So because we don't, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, Ms. McDougall, is there a model, a more holistic model even that includes, you know, a single cost, and I don't know what that cost would be, but it would be a business license and a chamber membership, and thereby build your membership in sort of a collaborative process?
That would make it restrictive to only members, whereas I think economic development is meant for the broader community.
Okay, understood.
Yeah, there is still an opportunity to, because we don't have a fee-for-service agreement, then there isn't really a mechanism to trigger a portion of the revenues from the business licenses to go to this.
Right.
And so it's a bit of the cart before the horse.
Fair.
But it is something for consideration. I know in other municipalities, there's a line item for economic development, and that's on their tax bill at the end of the year.
Sure. Councillor Ravenous?
Thanks, Your Worship. I just want to focus on this particular aspect, if you wouldn't mind, Your Worship. From the bylaw that we just passed with business licensing, the understanding is it's just, cost recovery at this point in time. So what's if we choose here to kind of use that to fund future economic development, what does that mechanism look like? Do we even have the money? Saying that it is cost recovery means we have already incurred that cost. So there's nothing there.
Yeah, that's very accurate through to council. Council hasn't defined economic development as a service in the community. And so assessing a fee or charging a fee in a license to then fund it without first saying, okay, this is what we're going to do. We create a partnering agreement, and then now how do we fund that? Or we draft a partnering agreement with a plan on funding it, is the recommended mechanism that I would have us recommend to council that we follow down. So in this report, council wanted, or in the past resolution, council wanted the costs brought forward early in the budget process. They've been brought forward. The scope of work has been brought forward. We'll now include that as a consideration for council in the budget process. If council then decides to move ahead, we will bring forward, along with that, a recommended funding strategy for that service area. And it may be part of business licenses, it may be part of regular taxation, or a blend. But that's it. Let's establish the service and what level we want to provide it at, and then we'll bring you a funding recommendation for consideration through the budget process. And so we can work on that, and we'll be starting with the guiding principles in November, and then work on that over the coming future months.
Yeah, I really appreciate that response because, and I apologize, Ms. McDougall, kind of blanch at the proposed recommendation, very supportive of the REDIP grant. But as we said before, that we need to have a budget conversation about the economic development as a partnering agreement or as some sort of funding mechanism. And that made me blanch a little bit, but I'm grateful you brought forward this opportunity for the $50,000 over 3 years, because I think that does really sort of offer an opportunity. Councillor Ravenous, did you have a question?
Yes, Your Worship. You're absolutely right. I was also foreseeing this to come through our budget cycle. Yeah. Where I was trying to get at there was also how exactly are we going to do this? Because usually what we are doing is, we go through all the general ledgers and, you say what the costs, expenses are, what revenue is coming through. I'm sorry, I'm getting into technicalities here, but what exactly are we going to do to say, hey, economic development, this is the line item, and how do we fund it? That's what I'm trying to understand here.
First, on November 12th, we'll talk about council guidelines, constraints, and just early philosophies on the budget with council and preview the budget process. That's where you'll get more information on that. And then if council decides to move ahead with certain scenarios or provides guidance to staff, then that dictates what we're bringing forward. And so our plan right now is to bring forward, I think, a number of considerations where additional funding could lead to additional services. You heard, was it last week when the community partners were presenting financials? We have specific requests as well from most community partners as well for consideration by council. And so that's part of that discussion. There's additional line items, additional cost increases. Is council willing to entertain them as priorities? Then we roll them in and show you where the funding would come from and what the impacts would be of that.
So those based on conversations we've had through the year with community groups and others, those will be discussion points brought forward during the, thank you. Yeah.
I'd just like to ask, does that answer the question sufficiently for you? We go through our service areas. We do provide council with a full general ledger and do Q&A, but we generally now have been steering our budgets towards service area discussions rather than line by line discussions, just because council decides on budgets at a governance level with the bylaw that is very, very rolled up. So we still drill down into service areas to, snow clearing. These are the recommendations for snow clearing. These are some potential implications, but.
Further?
Your worship, it'll again come down to your trade-offs here. You're going to incur a $60,000 per year fee for service for next whatever number of years. What is it coming against? Is it going to be a taxation or not? Like, I appreciate where you're coming from, CAO, that, you want to stay at the policy level, but at times devil is in the detail, right? It may not be a line item, maybe that is too granular, but still, like, what is the trade-off that I'm looking at? If I were to say yes to this, is what I'm getting at here.
Yeah, and I think Mr. Boranowski sort of put his finger on that. This is an examination in this circumstance of an entirely new service area. And so is that a service area we want to fund? The chamber has brought forward this REDIP grant, which I think would be a boon because it brings that number down significantly. But it still creates that question about a line item.
If I can, through to council, please. I think I'm poorly explaining exactly what you're saying. It's a trade-off. And right now I can't explain to you that trade-off because you haven't looked at your suite of services and the budget reality that you're starting the process with yet. Over the coming months, you'll work through all of that and get a picture of what those trade-offs are. Are you willing to entertain increased business license fees and some increase to general taxation to provide benefits to this when you're looking at other pressures, both internal and external and inflationary and capital and reserve in nature? So let's work through the budget process to then figure out if you want to establish this new service area based on your guidelines and based on that kind of a view. Hopefully that's a little more clear.
It did. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Ms. McDougall. Sorry.
Yeah, so that's a good lead into my next slide, if you don't mind, Michael. So maybe I didn't articulate the return on investment well enough at the beginning of the presentation. We're asking for $60,000 for this role to be housed at the chamber. It's for a portion of a role. It's not going to pay for an entire person or a function, but it is a really important service that I think our town needs and most other municipalities have, one or four or many. And the risk of not doing this proactively is that we won't have that type of service. We aren't going to meet the housing needs from the recent housing needs report. We've had a few things that have come into town that are economic development and they've happened ad hoc, but it really does take resources and capacity to go out and choose what we want. And that's what I was trying to articulate with Cranbrook. They've got parcels of land and they've spent time to prepare them and now they're doing expressions of interest. So they're choosing what they want and getting competitive bids for it. So they had a parcel of land downtown. They wanted mixed use. They chose RFPs. They picked New Dawn. It was the best deal. We can't rely on those types of things coming to us. And that's what I was trying to articulate with the return on investment. And we need to diversify. Anything in Columbia Valley, those things are not happening at the city or at a chamber level. Those are extra outside the box. So those are my points, why it's important. And I guess the final slide is just a reiteration of what I'm asking for today. So that council support a fee-for-service agreement between the city and the Chamber of Commerce for economic development, and to direct staff to work together to apply for this grant by the end of the week.
Thank you. Councillor Hamilton.
Just a quick question about the numbers, the $60,000 to be allocated and the $50,000 for the grant. Would they be combined, or like if we were successful with the grant, would that then reduce the city's commitment to 10,000 plus 50, or would it be 60?
We will take as much as you want to give us, but by the sounds of it, we're looking for opportunities to reduce that number. So if we're successful, then that number is reduced to 10. We won't find out until March whether or not we're successful for the grant. Unfortunately, they take a really long time to adjudicate.
Councillor Ade Kelly and then Councillor Shoesmith.
Thanks, Your Worship. Wendy, would you give us an idea of what you think the overall cost of the program would be? Like not the partnering ask, but like the total cost?
So that was a good question, and that was what I was just going to add to the response to Councillor Hamilton. Just to be clear, so the Chamber is pursuing quite a number of funding partners to provide an economic development function. Like Wendy mentioned the last time we presented, the ask of the city is to provide part of the funding for that function. So the overall vision is that there are a number of people working in economic development, and it would be great if the outcomes that we're seeking from that economic development are aligned with the city, which is best done if the city is providing some of that funding, and therefore we have a partnering agreement that sets out the priorities and within the framework that Wendy had suggested in the last meeting.
Mm-hmm. Councillor Shoesmith and then Councillor McIsaac.
Thank you, Mayor Milligan. Is there any cost related to moving the second portion of that, which is the assisting you guys with pursuing the grant?
So,
Sorry.
oh,
Happy to move that, Your Worship.
was that a question? though?
If I were to say, I really like the second bit of that, the first bit, requires us going into budget discussions and such, but the second bit about assisting you with the REDIP grant, I'm asking if that were standalone, are there any costs related to that beyond just, I'm assuming, some level of staff time?
So I've completed the practice form and shared that with the city. So once it's endorsed, then staff would spend an amount of time inputting that and validating it and making any edits to the responses that they see fit.
And Mr. Baranowski, we have capacity to put that together?
Yep, we've known it's been coming, and so have made sure that we're aware, have it, and have made sure we have access to the BCEID system that you apply through. So there are two of us on staff who would then collaborate over the next couple of days to get that application in.
Thank you. Councillor McIsaac.
Thank you, Worship. I was going to ask very much the same question. While I'm a big fan of economic development and big fan of the potential benefits for the community, I'm reluctant to start a partnership thing without having had some strategic discussion and budget discussion and implication discussion and so on. There are a lot of items competing for our attention and for dollars. And so I think a fulsome discussion of that is necessary before agreeing to a partnership. Having said that, I can't think of any good reason to not support grant application, which would support the chamber and potentially doing better economic development here. So I just took a lot longer to say what Councillor Shoesmith said. But yeah, that's kind of where my thoughts are going right now.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Councillor Ade Kelly.
We didn't actually talk about a ballpark of what an actual economic development program was going to cost. Just want to point that out. I am really in support of applying for the grant. I think it's great. I do think we need to have some strategic discussions because just a couple of the things that Ms. McDougall mentioned hit me with, okay, what are the available parcels of land that we might look at?
Mm-hmm.
What is the capacity of our planning and what resources would we need? Because there would be nothing worse to me than the chamber finding a great opportunity and us not being able to execute it. So I think we need to also, in addition to the budget considerations, we need to talk some strategy.
Yeah, because that will be part of each conversation. Exactly right.
Yeah.
Ms. McDougall?
And if I may, so the work plan for year one is based on things that we know that we can accomplish. So business startup support or a commercial hub, be a point of contact when a business wants to open. The CAO had some great ideas and examples from Tofino, where we have better communication when we're at peak infrastructure levels and how we can work together. I think the second piece in developing land comes next. And so that's why we structured year one with things we knew we could accomplish and framed the grant report where years 2 and 3 would be influenced more by the OCP and the Downtown Business Working Group results.
Councillor Hamilton and then Councillor Revenus.
Thank you. I too am very much in support of applying for the grant. I am hesitant to support the first part without having more broad, fulsome discussion around our budget. However, we're really facing a chicken and egg situation here. You know, we've talked ad nauseum around this table about having to expand our tax base, having to stop relying on residential properties. Unless we start investing in attracting those things, nothing's going to change. So, yeah, I think for me right now, it's perhaps just a timing issue, given that budget conversations start in less than a month. But I'm fully in support of as we talk strategically about what that looks like. And, you know, I would love to see some of this come back through our OCP, you know, understanding what the community wants to see our expansion look like. I haven't seen anything here as far as specific industries that we want to target. It's just housing. We can only build so much housing before we start to need to put people in them that aren't just service related or resource related. So yeah, a lot of thoughts on this topic, but for now, to keep it on agenda, I certainly support the second one, but I'm probably not in support of the first one at this time.
Councillor Revenus.
Thanks, Your Worship. I think everybody covered pretty much everything I wanted to say about this. There's one a little bit of a feedback, folks. It's just that when I think about this economic development, the term itself, right? It's got a branding issue. If it just feels very vague to me. Maybe if there is some kind of a branding brainstorming that goes into it, like just me spitballing here, call it invest in Fernie or something, right? That way you're actually turning this into a tangible thing that people understand what this means. Economic development, we can go to our citizens and talk about this. It just feels like a very vague term and maybe they don't realize what it actually means. But really what our goal here is to invest, you know, investments into our town. Something on those lines might be actually beneficial to progress this program. It's just a branding sort of feedback from
and
myself.
that's a great example. So there's Invest Kelowna, there's Choose Cranbrook. Those are elaborate websites that have been formed after years of having economic development functions in their communities. Cranbrook just won 2 awards. They won a provincial award and they won a Canadian award for their website. So I definitely encourage you to check it out, and it explains what economic development is. It has demographics and it has relocation packages and everything that they do. We're trying to get there. And so in the backup slides, it talks about the steps that we would take to get to a service agreement, establishing an advisory committee, members of council, and the chamber. And together we would define what work goes into economic development.
But it is a great point. The branding of the service is totally open for discussion. Like,
yeah,
the function is economic development, but we can call it what we.
Yeah, something. Yeah, you're preaching the choir here. I know what economic development is. I am fully aware of that term. All I'm saying is we just have to, like the other councillors mentioned here, we've been talking about this for years and years and years. The way to get this rolling is with a better branding exercise is what I'm trying to say here.
Thank you. With that, I'm going to actually turn to our corporate officer and ask if, so Councillor Ramadus has indicated he would move the second part of the The council directs staff to collaborate with the Fernie Chamber of Commerce, prepare and submit a REDIP grant application on behalf of the city chamber partnership prior to the October 31st, 2025 deadline. You're happy with that? Does that work? Seconded by Councillor Shoesmith. Any further discussion? I just want to say I salute the chamber and your persistence, asking for the 60,000 in the resolution. I think, I can't fault you for that, but trust that that has been heard at council, and it will make up part of our budget discussions. Yeah, we, as you've clearly heard, we need to have those discussions first. Councillor Hamilton.
Thank you. Just as kind of a follow-on, what would be our mechanism, because we don't have a resolution to support that, if through our budget discussions we agree that we should support this to whatever dollar figure that is, incorporate that or bring that back? Do we just include that in our budget as a line item and that's that? Or would we have to bring this back or have the chamber come back?
No, I think we would identify it in our budget discussion, and if we choose to add that level of service, then we would include it in our budget. Mr. Barnowski.
There's a standing resolution from the summer noted in the report that staff bring it back as part of the budget. It's coming back as part of that discussion. This is here now timing wise because of the REDIP application, but you'd receive a presentation from the chamber. If this weren't here, you would have received something similar, I'm assuming, from the chamber as part of the budget deliberation to a point where you said, yes, go, or no, don't go, or request changes. Yeah.
With that, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. And thank you for your presentation. Item 11.2, license of occupation. Amendment of license for the weather station, a report from our acting director of corporate services, Ms. Neal.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here to present this evening to seek council approval for a renewal of a license of occupation for an existing automated weather station on city-owned land. The renewals requires under the community charter and municipal lands and acquisition and disposition policy a council resolution. The original license was signed in 2015 for BC Hydro Weather Station to operate on city-owned land right behind our sewage lift station site off 7 Mount McLean. The station supports regional weather monitoring and data collection. And the original term is expiring in October of this year. And BC Hydro has reached out requesting renewal for an additional 10 years of operation. The request and the amendment of the license has gone through the city's legal counsel for review and had a few adjustments made and provided back to BC Hydro. And this is just a quick visual of where the weather station is located behind our lift station off 7 Mount McLean. And staff have reviewed this request and confirmed that the installation remains consistent with the intended use of the property, does not interfere with municipal operations. The license serves a public interest purpose, facilitating weather monitoring and data collection, and the renewal aligns with our strategic objectives related to asset stewardship and supporting regional services. So it is consistent with policy, and a council resolution is required to authorize the execution of the license renewal. The recommendations are outlined here, and staff is recommending approving the license renewal as recommended. Of course, there are options as well if council would like to direct staff otherwise. Any questions?
I think I'll ask our corporate officer to read the recommendation. I was looking and nobody had any questions. I know.
Oh, wait for me. Yeah.
Please.
Okay. The staff recommendation is that council approve the renewal of the license of occupation authorizing the continued operation of the weather station on city-owned property at the city's main sewage lift station, 7 Mount McLean Street, legally described as PID 0163952221, for a further 10-year term expiring November 9, 2035, and that council authorize the mayor and corporate officer to execute the license agreement on behalf of the city of Fernie.
Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor McIsaac. Any discussion? All those in, go.
Thanks, Your Worship. It's just, this was very a revealing piece of document to me. Like, I had never thought of BC Hydro, sewer plant and weather station to be interconnected in some way, which is interesting. Like, what exactly does BC Hydro do with this this facility? Like, do we even know?
Yeah, it provides input into regional weather monitoring. We actually benefit from it as a recipient of that information.
You can look it up online. It shows precipitation.
Yeah, yeah.
They've got a dozen around.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, but why BC Hydro?
They want to track precipitation, particularly for hydro operations. Yeah.
Thank you.
All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Neal. 11.3, 2025 fleet equipment procurement from our manager of public works. What? Welcome, Manager Campbell.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here to provide you with information on the 2025 Fleet Procurement Program and request approval for the purchases that I'll lay out ahead. The purpose of this presentation is to seek council authorization to proceed with the procurement, of several key pieces of fleet equipment. These purchases are necessary to replace aging units that have reached their end of service life and to maintain the city's operational efficiency, our safety standards, and service delivery capabilities. The equipment identified includes both replacements and a new addition that were approved in the 2025 financial plan. By replacing outdated equipment, the city aims to reduce downtime, improve staff safety and efficiency, and ensure readiness for seasonal and emergency operations. The request aligns with the Council's strategic priorities, including climate action, fiscal responsibility, and dependable service delivery. The procurement plan leverages cost-saving opportunities using canoe discounts and trade-in values, ensuring that all purchases remain within the approved capital budget. We have consulted with relevant departments, including engineering, our public works teams, our finance and facilities teams, to ensure comprehensive planning and alignment with operational needs. So this presentation will provide an overview of the equipment, the financial considerations, and the strategic benefits. So the proposed equipment procurement includes a loader, a vector, a sweeper, and a man lift, each selected based on operational necessity, life cycle status, and alignment with our goals. The rationale behind these procurements is multifaceted. They're intended to mitigate future budget pressures by replacing outdated units before they start to incur high maintenance costs and impact our operational teams. It's intended to improve fleet utilization by introducing multifunctional and reliable machinery, and to support climate action initiatives through the adoption of low emission, and in one case, an electric equipment. Financially, this procurement plan is cost effective. All purchases are within that allocated budget, and we've leveraged those discounts and trade-in values that I mentioned before. So our first one up is our loader replacement overview. So the current loader is a 19-year-old Volvo L90B, and it would be replaced with a 2025 John Deere 624P to enhance performance and standardize our fleet. The proposed replacement of the existing loader is driven by its age and declining reliability. At 19 years old, the Volvo loader has reached the end of its service life, making it increasingly difficult to source parts for our mechanic, and it's costly to maintain. This loader plays a crucial role in supporting our winter road maintenance and our summer operations, such as material movement and excavation for our public works departments, for all public works departments. The new recommended model promises improved performance, enhanced safety features, greater operator comfort, and one of the bigger advantages is the consistency it brings to our fleet. So currently the Volvo loader is the only unit of its kind in our fleet, the only Volvo, and it complicates maintenance and part sourcing along with its age. By standardizing our fleet where we can with our John Deere equipment, the organization can streamline our operations, reduce downtime, improve overall efficiency, and our mechanic is already trained and experienced in servicing John Deere equipment. And the operators are also familiar with their functionalities, and this further enhances our operational readiness. In terms of financials, the net cost of the new loader, including necessary attachments, this includes a carriage, fork tines, and bucket, is $363,000. We have a significant canoe list price discount, which is basically the MSRP, the manufacturer's suggested retail price. So the discount canoe offers us is 38% that's been applied here. And they're also offering a trade-in value for our Volvo for $45,000, making this a really great opportunity. The cost is well within the allocated budget that was budgeted at $430,000. Ensuring fiscal responsibility while upgrading our essential equipment, the value and cost effectiveness of this proposed replacement aligns with the operational needs and our budget that was laid out. Any questions about that one? Yeah.
Councillor Schutz-Smith.
Thank you, Mayor Milligan. That is a like one-to-one in terms of capability. It's got all the same things it can do as the existing loader.
And if not more, yes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Councillor Ramirez.
Thank you, Worship. I'm a minor in my day job, so just forgive me for asking this question. Most of the equipment in our mine site, sometimes we don't trade in, like they just exist and we use it as a buffer equipment. Has there been any thought of, just retaining this older equipment too, just in case, your primary equipment breaks down and you can rely on your secondary? I appreciate that you get some value out of the trade-in, but
we did discuss it, yes. And given the high maintenance cost it's already incurring, we did decide that this was the best option to move forward with. And as we noted, the sourcing the parts is quite difficult at this point as well. And we have a second or another loader, backup loader as well. Yes, so this we already have the backup along with this new one.
Councillor Audie Kelly.
Just totally curious, if all of our equipment is John Deere, does that help us with our parts purchases? Like, do we get some kind of a discount because all of our stuff's John Deere? You know what I mean?
A fleet discount potentially, yeah.
I imagine that the more like when we do buy in bulk, I imagine it would be at a steeper discount. Yeah. I could confirm that if you'd like, though.
Councillor Ramirez.
I mean, this is just a no-brainer, Your Worship. Like just having a single fleet, it just makes it makes your maintenance shop work easier, procurement easier, less downtime. It's just the right thing to do, at least in this case.
Carry on.
Thank you. So next up is our Vactor replacement overview. So what do we use the Vactor for? It plays a critical role in supporting our wastewaters team, but doing the sewer line cleaning, utility repair with our both utility teams, the installations of new service connections, and then along with the streets team, they use it for sign maintenance, road repairs, a wide range of utility with the Vactor. The current Vactor unit, now 16 years old, has reached the end of its service life and is no longer suitable for the demands of sanitary and water excavation tasks, as well as routine maintenance I mentioned with the streets team. The current unit suffers from significant wear and tear, including severely pitted debris tank and rusted dust collector tubes that will require replacement within the year. A major limitation of the existing unit is that it's a single axle design, and this causes it to exceed legal weight limit when the debris tank is full. And so thereby it's restricting our limits and its capacity for larger projects and making them take more time, decreasing efficiency.
Sorry, Ms. Campbell, when I read that in the report, I wondered, did we buy it knowing that, or was there a regulation change there?
That I am unsure of. Brad, do you have anything to add to that? 16 years ago now, but we've got some history here.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I believe when they bought it, I think they may have brought in a mobile scale to weigh it, but it's just when we fully load it to be more efficient, it's over its legal weight. So
Okay, yeah.
we really have to run it to be legal, like with half a load.
Yeah, and we want to be legal, so thank you. Yeah, okay.
These issues I've noted collectively compromise the efficiency, the safety, the operational reliability of this equipment as it is. And for context, the Vactor was down 3 days in the last 2 weeks, required 8 hours of internal mechanic work on one occasion. And that doesn't include the downtime that was included and the parts. And on the other occasion, an external contractor had to be brought in to fix it as our mechanic was away at training. The proposed replacement, so the 2025 Vactor 2100i offers substantial upgrades that address these shortcomings. It features a tandem axle design, which improves load distribution and weight compliance. So we're compliant there. The unit is compatible with our existing systems, allowing for seamless integration and enhanced troubleshooting from our mechanic. He knows what he's doing with this one. And in addition to boasting a larger capacity, it also has superior operator control, improved environmental sustainability. It has features like water recycling ability, low emissions to minimize environmental footprint. And so this piece of equipment is critical for maintaining Fernie's underground infrastructure and above ground infrastructure effectively and safely. The financial overview for the Vactor, I have the net cost of the proposed Vactor being at $755,000, excluding GST. These numbers I'm going to present. This includes a trade-in value of the existing Vactor unit at $50,000 is what they're offering for that. The City of Fernie utilized 2 canoe contracts for this purchase. The Vactor Freightliner, for the Vactor itself, and then for the Freightliner for the chassis. So the canoe contract ensures we're getting a fair price through the established 3% minimum discount for the Vactor equipment. And then the dealer has actually decreased that or increased that percentage discount further. And then we also get the 33.6% discount on the Freightliner chassis. So quite a discount through Canoe there. The new unit is high performance and efficient and aligns with the long-term asset management and operational planning goals. We think this investment is justified, and with the improved load handling, better operator control, and compatibility with existing maintenance software. We believe this is the way to go.
I do have a question that occurred to me on, because there's this one, the Vector, and there's the sweeper with the Vector as well, the multi-unit or multi-functional unit that you're going to talk about. It occurred to me to ask this, and I think I know the answer, but I walked by the project down at the Fast Gas where they're putting in the
EV?
new EV chargers, 2 vac trucks there. Are we ever in a circumstance where we can rent or lease or provide a service to the community and charge, particularly with new equipment like this?
That's not something that I've been made aware of, whether it's been talked about in the past or not.
Sorry, Brad, you have to come to the microphone.
It's not a service that we generally provide, only because we generally want to reserve capacity and quality of that equipment for the taxpayer and
Understood.
and public services.
Yeah. But it did occur to me seeing 2 vac trucks parked side by side working on that project, thinking, well, could we make some money from this thing? Councillor Shoesmith.
As a guy who spent, thank you, Mayor Milligan, as a guy who spent 2 weeks on standby waiting for vac trucks and having other people buy them out from under me repeatedly, my mind went to the same place. Those things are gold mines.
Yeah.
And one thing I'd like to add is, honestly, in the summer, the Vector truck is out every single day, whether it's with our sewer team or water team. Like it's pretty rare that it's got some downtime during the summer.
Yeah.
And then it's also used in our emergency situations during the winter. So having that multi-functioning machine that I'll bring up soon will be helpful to be more efficient, to have 2 in the fleet.
Thank you. Councillor Audi Kelly.
Thanks, Your Worship. Manager Campbell, do we anticipate like a similar service life from these new pieces of equipment? Because you know how it seems to me like, okay, my original washer and dryer lasted 20 years, but the one I subsequently bought after that lasted 7. So I know that you can't really, but are we anticipating that the quality and the last the way the old stuff did?
And the warranty is adequate to our needs.
Certainly the warranty is adequate for sure. Something that we are continuously implementing in our team as well is improved maintenance from all operators, not just from the mechanic, not just from when it's broken, it needs fixing. It's every day that continuous maintenance that makes a big difference. And I think 16 years ago, it might not have been to the level that we're at right now. So I'm proud of our team where we've gotten with our greasing program and our maintenance program in general.
Thank you.
Yeah. Great. All right. So moving on to the sweeper, which you've mentioned already there, Mayor. So the sweeper unit plays a critical role in our seasonal maintenance. So in spring, it removes the sand and the gravel and the leaves that accumulate on the streets during the winter. This process clears winter debris, keeps our roads clean, prepares them for safe summer use, and keeps sand out of the storm catch basins. Yes. And in the fall, the sweeper is equally important for leaf cleanup, removing those leaves that we're seeing build up. And then throughout the winter, we're trying to remove those leaves before that freeze thaw cycle happens, and it helps prevent blockages from our catch basins, reducing flooding risks, improving drainage throughout winter. So our current sweeper is 22 years old and in poor overall condition. Critical components like the wiring harness are failing. The chassis parts have been discontinued due to age. And additionally, the climate control system is damaged beyond repair, making the unit unreliable and costly to maintain at this point.
Well, and sorry to interrupt, but the climate control unit for the operator, I mean, that's a critical piece of equipment, particularly in the summer. So yeah, we shouldn't be operating that thing.
Yeah, 100%. So our thought,
Councillor Hamilton? No, don't apologize.
Sorry, just while we're paused there, looking at the report, in the agenda, I just want to confirm that this has nothing to do with ice resurfacing and rink operations. Because there's a line that says purpose, replacement of aging ice resurfacer to support safe and efficient rink operations in our report. And I was,
Something might have been missed.
that's what I just wanted to confirm. I was a little confused when I read that.
At one point, we were including the Zamboni in the initial report, and after, we are going to present that at a further date, but there was some deleting that happened, and that might have been a miss, so apologies for that one. So nothing to do with ice resurfacing for the sweeper. Thanks for clarifying that. So our goal is to make our fleet multifunctional where we can, and our fleet review highlighted the need for equipment that delivers year-round utility. Currently, the sweeper is only used for a few months each year, as noted in the spring and the fall, leaving it idle most of the time. So the replacement suggestion is the Butcher V65H, and this solves this idle time by combining the sweeping and a mini Vactor function in one unit. So this dual purpose design maximizes operational flexibility and reduces downtime of the equipment, as well as increased efficiency within our teams having those two Vactors. Currently, the wastewater and water teams often use the Vactor, as noted, about 5 days a week in the summer and the shoulder months, leaving little availability for other department and a lot of planning between the two. When there's an emergency, for example, that needs to be done, something else gets put aside. So adding a multifunctional sweeper with this mini Vactor alleviates that issue, improving efficiency across our teams. So currently we are not able to meet our seasonal obligations with catch basin cleaning, for example, due to only having the one Vactor, as our utility teams typically be being done right now, but our utility teams are just out there consistently with it. So the Butcher V65H offers a lot of improvements. It has a hydrostatic drive system, reducing maintenance on high wear parts, and it does not use belts or traditional gearbox. And this is seen as an improvement from our mechanic as well as the operators. And it can operate at its highest performance at a lower RPM on the engine, which minimizes fuel consumption and noise for the community as well. Adding this to our fleet, it modernizes our fleet, improves our service delivery for our community, and optimizes our resource use. And in terms of financials, the proposed sweeper has a net cost of just under $610,000, and it includes a 5% discount from Canoe. So while we do recognize this exceeds the original allocation of $400,000, this purchase is fully achievable without a budget amendment, meaning that we've gotten all of that I am presenting here within the budget, which includes this increased cost. Thanks to this fleet saving program, or pardon me, the fleet program savings through Canoe, through trade-in credits, and having a lot of good research happen on our end. And the investment is not just about replacing aging equipment, it's strategic cost avoidance. So by choosing this multifunctional unit, we can eliminate the need for that second Vactor in the future, which is clearly a need. So in short, we believe this is a piece of equipment that provides greater value than a single purpose unit and aligns with what we need in terms of operations.
Councilor Ramirez.
Thanks, Your Worship. I'm just curious, like, how did you guys come up with this idea at all? Like, did the vendor come to you and say, hey, we've got this dual purpose equipment ready for you? Or did you guys just brainstorm and say, hey, we need two different systems in a single equipment? Like, how does that work?
We do have suppliers come and bring demos to our shop at times when they ask us, obviously, and if we see a potential desire for a piece of equipment, we will try it out. And this was one that was brought in before my time, but there was a great feedback from the mechanic, from the operators, and obviously in terms of efficiency across the teams to be able to use a Vactor as well. Yeah.
Mr. Barnowski.
Thank you. I'd like to thank Director Weir, just to confirm to Councillor Adia Kelly's earlier question about anticipated lifespan, by policy and how the financial planning is done, for heavy equipment, we plan for a lifespan of 15 years, 12 for medium duty, and 8 for light.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Carry on.
Great. So next up is our Manlift purchase overview or recommendation overview. So what's a Manlift? It's a powered machine with the enclosed platform that raises workers and their tools to elevated work areas. It provides a safer and more efficient alternative to ladders for tasks like construction maintenance, painting in hard to reach places, roof access. The proposed procurement of the Genie Z3422 Manlift addresses a critical safety concern identified by the city's safety manager. So this is not a piece of equipment that we currently have. Currently, the facilities teams lack appropriate elevated tool access, or access tools, pardon me, for routine and emergency maintenance tasks, such as lighting repairs, window washing, garage door maintenance, flag lowering, tree trimming, general upkeep for our buildings. And this gap has led to a reliance on temporary rentals or the use of a ladder workaround, which increases risk in some situations for sure. The acquisition of the Genie Manlifts provides a safe, reliable solution for elevated work, significantly enhancing worker safety and operational efficiency as well across the city's facilities. The equipment specifically intended to support the facilities team in performing elevated tasks, including those that I mentioned before, but roof access was the biggest concern that was brought forward by our safety manager. And the alternative is basically installing fixed ladders at every location, which would be extremely costly, increases chances of vandalism. There's all sorts of other things that come along with fixed ladders. So it's not quite as versatile either, because we can use this in a range of other tasks as well. So in addition to its operational benefits, the Manlift supports our environmental goals through its fully electric operations, and it has obviously lower emissions due to that and a quiet performance suitable for residential and noise sensitive areas. The unit is built with industrial grade components designed for long-term municipal use, ensuring durability and sustainability. The financial summary for the proposed Manlift purchase is $67,000 USD, which translates to approximately $101,000 Canadian. So this is well within the allocated $120,000 budget. The investment is justified not only by being under budget, but also being a long-term value for the safety of our operators and efficiency as well. Reducing the need for temporary rentals, the risk of those ladder workarounds, the Manlift enhances our operational efficiency all around.
Councillor Adia Kelly and then Councillor Shoesmith.
Just curious, when we get something that's new like this, does it come with like training for our staff to make sure that everyone can operate it really safely?
Yeah. Yep. So the suppliers, they typically will offer a training, like a drop off and go over it with our operators, our mechanic. They usually spend a few hours. It comes at a cost that's included into all of these units as well. So, yeah.
Councillor Shoesmith.
How are we moving it around? Is there a trailer or are we just going to drive it around town?
I might ask Brad if we have an answer to that. Yeah. Yeah.
To be honest, I don't think we have a trailer big enough to haul around the one we're renting. I'm not sure if it comes with a trailer, but stuff like this, the Zamboni, I know we do drive from the arena to drop when it needs work, so.
that's potentially a consideration, right?
Yep.
Because it would be used at our operations center and the arena and access, roofs like this building. So,
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely.
Councillor Hamilton.
Thank you. The thought occurred to me, or the question occurred to me with this piece of equipment specifically, being as it's safety related, but it might apply to all of the new equipment. Does it impact our insurance rates by having improved safety tools or vehicle insurance, newer vehicles? Is that going to increase, decrease our insurance costs?
Not that I am aware of, no. Has this in any other fleet procurement purchases, has there been a history of that?
When we renew our insurance every year, they take into account the year, the make, the value of the item. So it might fluctuate it a little bit, but I don't anticipate significant differences year over year, depending on the piece of equipment.
Councillor Nixon.
Thank you, Worship. I hope it's not a spoiler alert, but I'm just curious about when we're getting all these bright, shiny objects.
All of them are varied. Typically, we're seeing some that are in stock, or I believe there's one in stock. It was the loader, which we could see in the next few months. Up to 10 months was the longest wait. So we'll be looking into next year for sure. Yeah.
Councillor Shoesmith.
Hopefully in time for Grizz Days parade. No, I don't have anything else to say.
Councillor Hamilton.
Thank you. Just with those timelines, I realize Canoe is a Canadian procurement company, but is the equipment actually coming from within Canada, or is there the potential that there's delays because of transborder shipping?
All of the quotes that I obtained other than the man lift were Canadian quotes, not being, as far as I'm aware, being brought in. But yeah, that's a great question. Not as far as I know, but they have guaranteed a timeline in their quotes when we can expect to get them after that purchase would happen. So
thank you. Carry on.
All right, so just a couple more slides here. Our financial overview. So the total budget approved for mobile equipment in the 2025 capital budget was 2.4 million. And all recommended purchases fall within this allocation at 1.8 million. And no budget amendments are required for these purchases. The procurement plan includes the trade-in values, the Canoe discounts mentioned, and these investments support our operational readiness for our public works team, allowing us to deliver on council's strategic objective of quality and dependable service delivery. We've consulted with the relevant departments. We've considered personal implications, including improved morale across the team, reduced ergonomic strain that can happen with older equipment, and increased reliability, which improves morale as well. The procurement plan is designed to maintain service standards, protect staff well-being, and deliver value to our community. So thank you, Council, for taking time to review our fleet procurement recommendations. This slide shows the next steps that would be taking place, which is our council decision on the procurement approval. And pending council's approval of these purchases, we would be initiating the purchase orders and scheduling delivery. And then staff training would happen and procedure documentation would take place for the new equipment to ensure we have our safety documentation in place. Our goal is to ensure that every investment we make in a fleet procurement translates into better service delivery for our community. These investments further enable us to deliver dependable service to our residents that we rely on every day, to use this equipment for snow clearing, for maintenance infrastructure, or infrastructure maintenance, pardon me, and just our everyday use to continue our operations. So thank you, and I'm happy to take any other questions you might have.
Thank you. Rather than field questions now, I'll ask our corporate officer to read the recommendation and then we can, any more questions we can have in the discussion portion.
The staff recommendation is that council approves the procurement of the following equipment totaling $1,829,687 excluding GST, as previously approved in the 2025 financial plan. Loader for $363,158 excluding GST. Vector for $755,772 excluding GST. Sweeper $609,579 excluding GST, and a man lift for approximately $101,178,000 subject to exchange rate excluding GST.
Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Nixon. Is there any further discussion? Councillor Ramnes.
Thanks, Your Worship. Just two things. Having sat through previous equipment purchases kind of files, it used to be really complicated and I wouldn't understand a thing of what was written in the report. This was very well written, like really self-contained, and I didn't have any questions to ask. So well done on that.
Thank you very much.
Second, I have a policy question, Your Worship. I was looking through the, maybe it's a finance type question, the delegation of authority signing authorization limit here. Just feels like as you move up the chain of command here, the delta is like really small, like going from the director to the CAO is only $50,000, and at $100,000, it's at the council level. Right, I appreciate that you want to be transparent and everything, but should every $100,000 question come to the council?
The purchasing policy is on our radar to be updated, and it will be updated and brought to council in the near term.
Okay, all right.
Thank you. Mr. Bornowski.
My perspective is it's important to be transparent. It's also important to reduce like the bureaucratic expense of reporting on too small purchases. And I think we need to raise the ceiling and address the deltas between authorities. Yeah.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Manager Campbell. Item 14.1. I think. Letter of support for the REDIT application Pacific Sport Columbia Basin. And I think we've all seen the correspondence. I'll actually ask our corporate officer to read the recommendation and then we can move it along.
The draft resolution for council consideration is that council provide, am I on? Yes. That council provide a letter of support to Pacific Sport Columbia Basin for their application to the Rural Economic Diversification and Infrastructure Program funding to support their business of sport initiative, and that the mayor prepare and sign the letter of support on behalf of the city of Fernie.
Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Audet Kelly. Not sure I like that mayor prepare. It's a bit cheeky. Any discussion? Councillor Shoesmith.
I'm unfamiliar with the structure of the REDIT grant and how they hand that out. Is this in competition with any of the other things we're in support of?
I don't know that I can answer that. I suppose it's a specific pot of money, but I suspect they're applying to a different funding stream.
I would think so. I just was kind of curious. I couldn't really find the time to look into it.
It's a fair question. Councillor Ramnes.
One final point, Your Worship, like I don't know any of these proponents, but it would have been awesome if they had come to the council and actually engaged with the council. I would have loved to understand a little bit more of what else they do. Reading a report is one thing, but actually having an interaction here at the council table is pretty powerful. So
Understood. Yeah, I appreciate that. And it was kind of short notice, but Councillor Nixon.
Thank you, Worship. You can blame me for that because I saw where it was on the agenda package and I told them not to come, but they wouldn't have been able to present anyway.
Okay.
So
thank you. With that, all those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. We're going to skip reports from council members and I will ask our corporate officer to read the in-camera recommendation.
That the meeting be closed to the public pursuant to Section 91A of the Community Charter, as the subject matter being considered at this time relates to personal information about an identifiable individual who holds or is being considered for a position as an officer, employee, or agent of the municipality or another position appointed by the municipality.
Moved by Councillor Audie Kelly, seconded by Councillor Hamilton. Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you.